Hello, welcome to the show. How you going, guys, in chat? It's great to see you here every week. You guys are absolutely amazing. I'm definitely awake, Shooter. Thanks for checking on me. I appreciate it. I did sleep in last week, though, so I can understand why you'd say that. We've got an awesome show for you guys. A lot has happened this week. Man, it's been like weeks and weeks of news after weeks and weeks of drought. So, yeah, it's crazy. All the stuff that's going on in gaming at the moment. And we also have an amazing guest for you guys this week. Super stoked to have her on. I'm glad that she came on the show. Cult Classic Cage, welcome to the show. How you doing, man? What have you been up to? What have you been playing this week? How's things?
Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for having me. It's definitely cool to be here. Getting to meet new people. I love that always. So I appreciate y'all for giving me the opportunity. I mean, heck, I just went to the amusement park last week with my best friend. We also hung out and stuff, and I've just been living what I can this summer, and also playing games. Like I'm so happy because Destroy All Humans 2 just recently came out, and that's like a childhood game of mine. So, and it's living up to what I was hoping for with this remake, and it's so far I think it's been even better than the remake of the first game. So, been super happy about that. Just finished Cult of the Lamb. To me, it's like my game of the year so far from what I've beaten. So super happy to have played that game and that it's awesome.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Cult of the Lambs, you top. I still haven't played it. Kind of meant to get it when it came out.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I need to get it for my own cult. I'm working on that in real life as well. DoomCutie, how you doing? How's your week been? What have you been playing? How's life?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, wrapping up a little bit at work, which is nice. Really happy about it being spring now. I'm hoping that the weather warms up a little bit because I am so cold. I haven't really been gaming that much. It's pretty much been Fortnite, and then last night I stepped into a little bit of Mass Effect. I'm slowly working through that, and I am very much enjoying it. Just on Cult of the Lamb, Devolver Digital released a small batch of their little fluffy plushy toys of the lamb, and I may be $70 less rich.
Cute alert.
Purchasing one of those, and it's not coming until November.
Cute alert.
Yeah, oh my God, it's so I just couldn't resist. So Cassie, I'm so with you with Cult of the Lamb.
I'm so glad to hear.
It's so, you just see him running around, and he's so cute because of his big head and big eyes, but like he does all these like cranky, angry faces, like scowling while he's fighting, like he's a little badass, and it's just, anyway, it's so good. If you haven't played it, play it, risk it. If you don't play it, I quit. Okay?
You've just done the opposite. You've just done the opposite of sell me the game.
Hey, listen, I was over here like, oh my God, this must be a girl game. I don't want that. I want to get the cooties. I don't want that game. No, I'm just playing.
JediKnightPete, dude, we'll come to you. How you doing, man? How's your week? What have you been playing? What have you been up to? How's things?
Always good to start the show with a bit of misogyny.
You know what? It wouldn't be gaming without misogyny. You know.
Whoa!
I mean, Cult of the Lamb is just like a woman, very, very cute, but dark and sinister on the inside. So
yeah. That sums it up just fine. Yeah.
Pete, had a great week. Started Diablo 3 with you. Yesterday. Didn't get too far into it. Finished A Way Out with Grey Monad, great friend of the show, awesome guy. Absolutely amazing game. Loved every second of it. Really big twist at the end. It was made by the guys that made It Takes Two, which won Game of the Year, and it went a little bit under the radar, but I recommend everybody try it out. It's absolutely amazing. I played Immortals Phoenix Rising, and I'm loving that game. Absolutely sensational. So yeah, I've been doing a bit of gaming, and I finished off Right Memory Infinite. I'm not sure if I did that last week, but absolutely fantastic game. So yeah, let's get into it. A lot to talk about this week.
Absolutely, yeah. You definitely finished it this week because I think you were talking about it. And I'll go to Umbra and then I'll talk about what I've been playing. I kind of love this game, but there's a couple of things that bother me. Umbra, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Oh, the week's been fine. I've just been doing a lot of other things, actually, being on other podcasts. I was with Box and Burger, and I was on, obviously, the Xbox Factory with Boom and all the guys. And then as far as gaming, though, it's been a little limited for me, but I've been practicing and playing on Fight Night a lot. Funny enough, getting myself
He's
prepared.
been taking bets on Fight Night.
I know.
He's been betting everyone on Twitter. now he has to pay up.
We do.
Well, yeah, we got something coming up, and Risk is gonna, eat crow again, and he's gonna have to post something on here. Isn't that right, Risk? You want to elaborate on that for the folks?
I can't remember exactly what the bet was, but it was something like you're going to eat my leather and go to sleep on the canvas. That
sounded like I don't know, double entendre right there. I don't know how you set that up.
Wow.
And when you do, I think I'm not buying because I want to buy The Last of Us Part 1. I don't want to pay $70 for it, but I did find it for about 67. In US dollars. In Australia, that's like 95 or something like that.
Massive discount there.
If I lose, yeah, I know, right? If I lose, then I'm not buying it. But if I win, then Umbra has to buy it at the full 70.
That's not what the deal was.
That was definitely the deal.
I think that's what it said. I'm pretty sure.
That is it. He didn't read it properly. Oh, I'm going to love this when I win.
Well, I'm not going to lose anyway, so it's all right. But so the deal was, after I beat him up, he also has to post the footage of it during a live here that we'll be streaming. So you'll see me KOing him all over the place. So tune in for that.
It's on.
And also, look, we'll add while we're here talking about clips, and then I'll come back to you, Umbra, and we'll find out what you've been playing. If you guys have clips, we are running a bit of a segment where if you have an awesome clip, funny clip, or something cool to do with gaming, send it to us in the DMs in Xbox Infinite's podcast on Twitter, and we will play it on the show. Sorry, Umbra, what have you been playing this week?
Oh, no, you're good. Pretty much just Fight Night. I played a couple of little small games like the Capcom Classics or Arcade, whatever it was. Nothing too major. I have to really get back into the hit of things, I guess, if that's the word, just to play some more things this week. I'm not sure what we might be getting into. Are we getting into the Ascent again this week? What's up?
I think so, yeah. I think we'll definitely be playing that this week.
Also finished the Ascent DLC. That was
we
amazing.
Did. We did indeed. Yeah, it was really good, actually. Yep. I recommend the Ascent DLC if you guys haven't played the Ascent DLC or even the Ascent. Go through it, persevere with the bugs. Great game. Loved it. The DLC was a little bit short, but it was awesome. Loved every minute of it. I also been playing
DLC
Wolfenstein.
was better than the main game, don't you think, Risk?
Yeah, it's definitely better. Yeah, I thought the whole game's awesome, especially for 12 people. But I've been playing a bit of Wolfenstein, and the gripe that I have with this game is that you have to kill dogs, and I really don't like doing that. It just doesn't feel right. But other than that, I like the game. I've never played it because I always found the shootings a bit just off. There's just something slightly off with it. Don't know what it is.
Because there's something slightly off with you. The shooting in that game is perfect, and they're Nazi dogs, so you're allowed to kill them.
Hey, I thought the shooting was fine too. I remember when he told me
Nazi dogs. Although it depends. Like, do they identify as Nazi or have they been made?
Oh my god!
They bite you like they're Nazi dogs. So that's all it means to me. I hit them right across their head with the pipe. Yeah.
They're definitely Nazi dogs. They're Nazi robot dogs. Eh? I don't know if it makes it all right, but there is something to do with the shooting. It's just slightly off. It's not quite right. It's not tight. It feels floaty. Movement and shooting just feels floaty. There's something slightly off about it. I don't know.
I'm watching your gameplay, and I'm trying to figure out what are you trying to do right here.
I was trying to figure out where the hell to go.
But look, what game do you think this is? You trying to jump off that to the wall over there?
It's Mario.
Yeah, I thought I had to climb up some stuff and get up there, but you can see, if you watch it, you can kind of see my brain working. Look, we'll move into the first topic that's kind of been major this week that everyone's kind of talking about. I kind of think it's a non-issue. We had a few conversations about it. I was with Boom on Boom's X-Vlog show. the new one that he has in the middle, the little kind of personal one. He had Hoag's Law come on. Gaz appeared for a couple of seconds in a crazy fashion as well.
Boom's got a new
that was
show.
hilarious.
Wow, I don't think he's got enough already. Maybe you should start up another one.
Right.
Needs
That was
to-
hilarious with Gas though. Gas popped in there and just went off, he went crazy.
He went crazy, yeah. I'm pretty sure he was drunk. But anyway, Fonz, how you doing? We will not block you this week, promise. Look, we're moving to the first topic. The CMA brought out some really weird tweets, and I'll verbatim read those tweets. I'm not going to read the article that they or the post that they linked to that, but just really weird. And I won't read the entire set of tweets, but I'll give you most of them. So if you don't know, the CMA is the Competition and Markets Authority, and that's the UK body that's very similar to the FTC. And they moved through to phase 1, and what they were letting everyone know is that they are now processing it through to phase 2, which is basically means that they found something in there that could lead to something being non-competitive. So I'll read through the tweets. It's a bit weird that they tweeted about this. It's really strange, the whole thing. I found it odd, and it sounds like a bit of grandstanding to me, but then I'll move to the panel after the tweet. So it says, Microsoft is one of the biggest players in the gaming industry. Together with Sony and Nintendo UK, they've led the games consoles market for the past 20 years with limited competition from new rivals. Activision Blizzard develops and publishes some of the world's best-selling and most recognizable gaming franchises, including Call of Duty and Warcraft. We're concerned that if the deal goes ahead, it could harm rivals, including recent and future entrants into the gaming industry, by refusing or hindering access to Activision Blizzard games. Now, Phil jumped out and responded to this. We'll go through that in a minute. But I'll just go through the panel and the guest and see, what you guys' thoughts are on this. This is basically, to me, though, before I do, this is basically a real non-issue. It's pretty standard. This is like the FTC from what Hoag's Law was saying. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a gamer. But Hoag's Law pretty much ran through the entire thing and explained it. This is very much like the FTC asking for more information because they were concerned about a few points within the deal. So it's a pretty standard thing. It doesn't really, from what I'm hearing from Hoag's Law and a few of the other people that I'm talking to, there was a great guy on with you as well, Umbra, from what on Hotbox's show. From what I'm hearing, it doesn't threaten the deal, really. They're just looking for more information, looking like they need to do their job. You know, it's a $70 billion deal. Like I said, it sounds like grandstanding. It's, a government entity. They're just standing up and going, hey, we're doing our job. We're working for the people. The weird thing about it is they did cite that it could harm Sony in some way. And that's not what their job is. Their job isn't to look after Sony. Their job's to look after the consumer. So it's a bit strange that they grandstanded, and a little bit strange that they cited Sony so often in their post or their release that Sony may be hurt by the deal, which is very likely it will be hurt by the deal, but that just means that Sony needs to step up and compete. Look, I'll go to you, Umbra, first, and just get your thoughts on what you think this means for the ABK deal.
I mean, it ultimately doesn't mean anything. I think it's a bit of grandstanding, but the thing that bothered me was the way it was worded. It felt like, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that thought it, and I know I'm not because I saw other people comment on it. I actually watched a Hoag Law video after it, and he said what I said, more or less, but probably much more intelligently. But I was just like, when you read that first part, that section where it says, quote, the CMA is concerned that having full control over this powerful catalog, especially in light of Microsoft's already, strong position in gaming consoles. I was like, but they're in third place. And then it said operating systems and cloud infrastructure could result in Microsoft harming consumers. That's the part that got me. So I was like, wait a minute. How is the third position placed publisher with the most affordable console on the market, with the most accessible options, be it console, mobile, or PC, going to harm consumers? It sounded like something Sony's lawyers wrote for them to say. It just felt weird to read that. And then you go back to the Brazil situation where they wrote to those regulators, and it felt like almost like a one-on-one conversation almost. I'm sure I'm not alone in seeing that.
Mhm.
So when I just thought it was very weird. And to me, I think that's what led to a lot of people, including myself, feeling that there might have been some type of, some weirdness about this. Now, I noticed when you speak up on that, and I had this conversation with a few people on Twitter and such, and then you say, that sounds weird. That sounds like Sony such and such may have done this. People have this weird thought either way, but they have this thought where they'll write off the thought of impropriety or that the government can't be shady, or they can't pull anything shady. It's not possible. So some people laughed it off. It's the CMA. What? I'm like, what does that mean? I'm here in America. We are corrupt as hell here. Do you think that just because they're the UK, they're more polite and they won't be corrupt too? So I thought that was weird to hear that, to read that from some people and hear it from some people. It's possible. They have lobbyists just like we have lobbyists here. And that's the legal version of bribing right there. So it doesn't matter if Sony have their lobbyists in place to say, hey, we really want you to look into this. It doesn't have to be shady. It could be as simple as them saying, we need you to actually look into this and challenge this. You know what I mean? So that was my thought on the whole thing. But ultimately, I don't think it will matter in the long run. I think the deal will still go through.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting that they verbatim pulled what Sony kind of released to the Brazils. I think it's CADE, CADE. Their agency is really exactly what Hargeek's Chatty's saying in the chat right now. Same response as Brazil to all the agencies. It's really quite strange. And you've got to imagine that Sony behind the scenes has been obviously, the one that they sent to Brazil would have been pretty similar to the ones that they sent to the FTC and then again to the CMA. But pretty weird that they cited that as a reason for concern. That creates competition. It's really odd. Just an odd reason. And I don't know, Umbra, if, with what you're saying, if there's something shady going on there. I don't tend to think that. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I do kind of think it's more a government agency grandstanding to say, hey, we're doing our job. We just want you to know we're doing our job. We're here, we exist, and we work for you. But how they did it was quite weird. Cage, I'm going to go to you and just, I don't know if you get a chance to go through this in the week or if, it'd be pretty hard for you not to see this. If you're on Twitter, it was all over the shop.
Yeah.
Bit of a weird one. What was your take on it?
Well, at this point, people actually think that the government does work for the people. If you say so, bro. I don't really know what to say. As far as I'm concerned, I think that the CMA is just putting on their face as though they are doing their job. I'm of the thought that when it comes down to it, government and corporations work together. So that's just what it is. I do think that this deal is going to go through. There's some things about it for me personally that I think are both positive and negative. The positive is I think, in my personal opinion, I thought Activision was a shitty company. The way they were being run overall and all of the nasty things behind the scenes that did come to light. So for, another company to buy them up and perhaps clean up this company's act would be a positive. But in terms of negatives with this situation, I have to look at the films industry with the way, and this isn't directly at Microsoft themselves, it's more so where the gaming industry is going as a whole with consolidation. The films industry did consolidate. I think it's like 4 to 5 companies that essentially own all of the production studios for film, sadly. And so with that has led to films that aren't very good. And I think a lot of films are competing to be the worst nowadays instead of competing to achieve things that are worthy of our time. So in terms of general consolidation, I am concerned where the gaming industry is headed as a whole. But when it comes down to the CMA, I just think they're just pretending to do their job. And just bring up these things, just so Microsoft will give them some extra paperwork and it'll go through. I'm not really concerned on that.
No, definitely. I think it's kind of a 100% thing that it's going to go through. Well, nothing's 100%. I'll say it's about 90% that it'll go through. But this is just that second phase. They kind of have to do it. And I don't know if you guys watch Hoag's Law, but yeah, he was pretty convinced that this was going to happen. He has been saying this all along, that phase 2 was inevitable. Yeah, so I don't think it's anything to worry about.
Cassie, I totally agree with you there. Like the whole tweet itself, the whole premise behind it, it just seems like they are just ticking a box. They're doing their job, and it's inevitable. It's going to go through. But I feel like that post is like, it's like saying, Microsoft is harming consumers, allowing Sony to not compete as they used to, and it's like as if Sony hasn't been dominating the market previously. Like it comes in ebbs and flows. Like I don't really understand this argument, and it just seems like they're ticking a box. They're doing their job. They're making a purpose for themselves, and I don't see why the public need to be brought into it, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I agree. Like I said, grandstanding, and their points are very much like so. I don't know. I read the whole thing. I was like, yeah, so that's that.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay.
Like it kind of didn't have a point. It's like, oh my god, it's gonna hurt Sony. Yeah, so like then they just need to compete. But
that's not fair.
that's it. That's kind of it.
We can't hurt Sony. Don't worry about Microsoft. We can hurt them.
Like I think you could hone in, like as they have, and Pete, I'll go to you in a minute about this. That I think they could hone in on that cloud gaming kind of arena, and maybe the subscription services kind of arena, and you could hyper focus on that and say that Microsoft have cornered that market. And I think that to some degree would be true, but that's not because Sony can't compete. It's because Sony hasn't competed. They haven't really tried to. So, yeah, again, when they're doing a $70 billion deal like this in gaming that encompasses not just cloud gaming, not just subscription services, but the traditional sales models, you're encompassing mobile. Like mobile is a bigger part of the deal than anything really at this point. So I see it as a bit of a joke. I don't know who wrote this, but they put emojis on it as well, and that was also a bit weird. I was like, you're a government body using emojis, and you're not even using them right. You know what I mean? Like they weren't even nailing the use of emojis. If they nailed the use of it, I'd be like, oh, these guys are kind of hip. But it just seemed like your 70-year-old grandpa, sort of like Pete, was using emojis in the wrong places.
In America, we have government officials referencing fictional films. Like, I have a hard time believing that any of us are adults at this point.
Do you think they're trying to like relate to the people? Like trying to be cool?
Yeah, definitely.
I would hope that's the case instead of like them being more and more childish as time goes on and actually thinking fictional films are real. So
I don't know if you've seen that film, Idiocracy, but I think maybe society is headed that way slowly. Pete, just get your take on this. I think you've got to have a pretty interesting take.
Look, I agree with pretty much everyone has said. I believe what you said, Cassie, is 100% true, that the CMA is just doing their due diligence, and I can understand that. I think that Microsoft was always, ready for this to be going through to phase 2, which is why as soon as the CMA put out their response, Phil Spencer was basically responding to it immediately, and pushing back against that narrative. And I think what Umbra said summed it up perfectly as well. That the response, what actually the CMA put out, it actually looked like it was written by a Sony lawyer, and I really didn't appreciate that. I thought that the way they worded it was just terrible. It should have been worded a lot better. I also think that they don't know what they're talking about because they're a government agency. They just know nothing about this industry. And to say that they're worried about Xbox having a monopoly when I think 80% of consumers in the UK have a PlayStation, I mean, I would consider that a monopoly, and I think it's 90% of consumers in Europe have a PlayStation. So they are overwhelmingly the dominant force in that part of the world. And that is true in most places around the world. So either way you look at it, I don't think it's a monopoly. And I think it was Umbra that also said it perfectly that Microsoft are putting it on not only consoles, but PC, putting it through on the cloud through your Android, your iOS device. They're going to be on Samsung TVs by the end of this year, and most likely going to have an app to go to all TVs. So consumers have a lot more access to this game, regardless, wherever they are, basically. Is this going to hurt Sony? Yes, of course it is. I mean, that's Microsoft's job, to compete against Sony, and it's not up to the CMA to protect Sony. It's up to the CMA to protect consumers. The best way to do that is to allow competition to thrive. And what we are going to negatively impact Microsoft, because they've spent billions of dollars building the Azure infrastructure, allowing more people to have access to games. It stinks to high hell the way they worded it. It really does. It seems to me that Jim Ryan has got in contact with his, lobbyists and people within the CMA and basically told them exactly what to write. I do think at the end of the day, it's a whole big nothing burger. I think that the deal will go through. I've always thought that it'll go through in March. I'm not as pessimistic as, say, someone like Hargeet, who believes that this is going to go to court and will postpone it by 2 years. Hargeet's right on a lot of things. Maybe it's my personal hope that won't happen and it's influencing my decision, but I don't think so. But yeah, I think we've summed it up great. I think everyone's points are valid.
Yeah, I think it's an unwinnable case if you take it to court. But just to give you a caveat for Hargeet, good friend of the show, they are going to court with Facebook over a ridiculous. It's ridiculous what they're doing with the blocking.
And I would say the reason for that, and the reason why they're going after that type of thing, is because Facebook and Google and all these things control the flow of information. And politically, that's been a very, very hot button issue, and very, very different to the Microsoft acquisition of a gaming conglomerate.
Yep.
And therefore, I don't think they will go after them with as much fervor as they are with Amazon and Google and Meta and these type of companies.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I really do tend to agree with that. However, just based on that, you don't know what these guys are going to do, because that is a pretty stupid thing to take to court. There's no way they're going to win that one either. So you just don't know, because it seems like this government, the FTC's, has kind of gone a bit nuts. Frankly. But look, as you said, Pete, as you alluded to, Phil Spencer did respond, and I just want to verbatim a little bit of that. If you guys haven't caught it, I imagine that a lot of you have by now, but just the two paragraphs that really interest me, and kind of answered the questions. Like, I mean, this is the thing that bugs me, but I'll give my opinion after this. We're expanding choice in two ways: through the creation of Game Pass, which gives players a subscription option, and by bringing more games to mobile platforms, including through our cloud gaming streaming technology. Subscription services like Game Pass make gaming more affordable and help players from all over the world find their next favorite game. Game Pass empowers the developers to bring more games to more players, not fewer. A very important, pertinent point. We intend to make Activision Blizzard's much-loved library of games, including Overwatch, Diablo, Call of Duty, available in Game Pass, and to grow those gaming communities. By delivering even more value to players, we hope to continue growing Game Pass and extending its appeal to mobile phones and any connected device. Sorry, Domi?
No, I think he's really playing a very good what do you call it? Like a very good role here. Like he is a businessman at the end of the day. But he's spinning it in a way that seems like it's for us, it's for gamers, and he's constantly always said that. He's been consistent throughout his messages over the years, and I think it's a good play. I really do.
I don't think it's a spin, to be honest with you, Jamie. I think that this is actually what he means this, and I don't think
I know that he means it, but I don't. It's a very it seems logical, right? For games by people for the people. You know what I mean? Like
Very
I don't know
American
why.
gaming. Yeah, so we're getting there. We're going to the plot. But look, he's doing this. I'll read the second paragraph as well. But like what he's saying is that this kind of the reason that he's doing this is not because he loves you as a gamer. He loves all gamers. Hail Phil. Yeah. That's not it. He's doing it because this will grow his business. It'll grow his business, but it won't just grow his business. It will grow gaming in general. I think, the way they've been going about it has grown gaming in general. And if PlayStation gets on board and these, and developers are getting on board, but if other console makers get on board with this kind of thinking, then it is just going to grow gaming. It's going to bring gaming to more people. And I think Jim Ryan said it earlier in the year. He said that he doesn't like that they've gated their games off, and he wants to see it expand beyond the boundaries of PlayStation. But I'll read the second paragraph. Bringing more games to mobile platforms, however, requires new capabilities. The expertise that teams at Activision Blizzard bring in developing games for mobile platforms will help us understand how to create games that engage players around the world. In addition, we hope the players will be eager to play traditional console games from Activision Blizzard on other platforms via our cloud gaming stream technology. My God, he puts in some tongue twisters. This promises to open up mobile gaming, creating new distribution opportunities for game developers outside of the mobile app stores, whilst delivering compelling, immersive experience for players by using the power of the cloud, and we can extend the joy of playing to devices that people already own, including smart TVs and laptops. He made a really interesting point that no one has kind of highlighted here. They are hyper-focusing, zeroing in on mobile gaming. That's what this is all about. That has been, that has been talked about in the past, but that really gives you a good understanding. It's like, he pretty much is standing up there in front of the FTC, CADE, CMA, saying and to gamers and to everyone, look, it's cool that we're bringing this stuff to console, but these guys have got something that we don't have that we need. They've got mobile expertise, and that's where we want to go as a company. We want to be able to bring these games that are on console, these big games that are on PC, to a mobile platform and allow everyone to play, and this will just help us do that a lot more quickly. Look, and he's said this quite a few times in different ways. He's been extremely direct. He also went on to note that there's bigger players in the industry. Tencent, he cited by name. Sony, he cited by name. And he also went on to say that lost my spot on the thing. He also went on to say that it would just benefit the entire industry as a whole. And I really do think it will. And one other thing that he kind of we didn't hyper-focus on. I've got a thing with hyper-focus today, haven't I? I keep saying it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that.
I was going to say, Risket, that when the acquisition was first announced, you were one of the first ones to point out that that Microsoft are really focusing on the King aspect of Activision Blizzard King, and Phil's own words really do lend itself to what you said. So, it is. Well done to picking that up so early, mate.
It is what he wants. You can kind of see where they've been going for such a long time, and if you can bring stuff to mobile, to cloud, and you can see it with the TV, you can still bring it. You can bring it to PC. You can just do everything. If they do everything through the cloud, there's nowhere they can't reach. The only places they can't get to is places without internet connection, and that's a very small population on the planet at the moment. So, you can see what they're doing. I can see how the FTC may have a problem with it, but there's no reason that we can't see Tencent, Sony, these big gaming companies compete in that arena. And look, I'm going to move on to the next topic, unless you guys want to add something to the conversation about this.
Well, just to add to that part, I mean, they've been kind of clear with that messaging, actually. Even beyond him writing what he wrote recently, they talked about reaching 2 billion gamers. You're not going to do that just with consoles.
3 billion.
3 billion. Did I say billion or million?
No, you said 2 million. 2 billion, sorry.
Oh, it's 3 billion, you said?
You're shortchanging Phil. It's not cool. It's not cool, man.
Only by $1 billion, but come on, he wasn't that far.
Right. Right.
Okay.
It's only $1 billion. Dang. It's that misandry we were talking about. No, so he's talking about reaching that many gamers and such. You're not going to do that just with consoles, so it makes sense.
Very
He's
true.
been saying it all along, actually, when you look at the language. So makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of what we've been saying on the show, and what I've been saying is he's been pretty clear about what he's going to do. And every time they have said something, outside of a contract, like, hey, we're going to do this, and this is not what we're going to do. Hey, Minecraft is going to stay everywhere, and hey, this is going to do that. And they said it. They didn't sign contracts to that effect. Maybe they did behind the scenes after saying it, but They've never been dishonest in their practice. I don't think that you would see them say, "Hey, we're not going to put COD. We're going to put COD everywhere. Don't worry, no one's going to lose it." And then they get COD and like, I can't see that.
Well, you did see the new thing that popped up though, right?
No.
Let me find it really quick. Give me 1 second.
Are you telling me they're removing COD from all systems?
No, it's not that they're removing it.
Yeah, I was going to say, they will have access to it if they want to put Game Pass on there, and if they said the same thing with Bethesda games. I don't think they'll do it with COD because it will weaken the game as a whole. I think it will reduce the player count way too much for a game like that to be successful. And I don't like when anybody loses the ability to play a game. I think the marketing rights to COD will by far and away be enough for Xbox to be synonymous with it, just like Xbox was in the 360 era and PlayStation was in the PS4 era. The casuals don't really know any different.
You kind of reminded me of something there. I had an argument with it. If you guys know, in the community only on Xbox, I had an argument very, very early days. I think even before we started the podcast. And I said to him that Xbox would be happy and would love to put Game Pass on in a Sony ecosystem. He was like, "Nah, they'd never do that. They'd never do that. Never do it." Yes, they would, man. They don't care what platform, who, what, when, and where. And it's come out recently this week that they actually did try, and Sony knocked it back. So I'm just going to take that little victory lap right now.
So here's what it said right here. Back here, shared by Naibu and a few other people on Twitter. It says, The Verge. Phil Spencer wrote Jim Ryan in a letter in January saying that Call of Duty would still be available on PlayStation several more years beyond the current Sony contract in place. That's what it had happened. So the way it was worded, it sounds almost like, well, we'll keep it there. Don't worry about it. You'll still have it on your platform for several more years, and then maybe it would go exclusive. Or it could have been him alluding to the marketing deal that Sony had in place. So it's kind of unclear which way they meant that.
That's true. There's many ways in which, but I mean, once it all dies down, you give it a few years. Sorry, Cage.
I was just going to say, personally, I think that they're just going to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. Generally speaking, looking at streaming services, they have a hard time covering their own costs. So, I mean, if you could sell a game at full price on another platform and people are still willing to buy it, I mean, that just helps the said platform that owns the game itself. Like, it just helps them more.
Well said, Cassie. I mean, PlayStation might get 30% of those sales, but Xbox will be getting 70%. That's a huge amount of money for a massive IP, and it'll weaken it, especially the multiplayer aspect of it.
I just wanted to highlight Boba Fett's. He put a shush emoji at the end of it. Sorry, mate, my bad. Look, we'll move on to the next topic. Last of Us Part 1 remake. $70 games, the PS5 price hike, and the media bias. Now, Cassie, this might be a loaded topic for you because you really are enjoying playing the game, and I imagine when I get it, I will really enjoy playing the game. What has bothered me, and you guys may have seen my video that I put out earlier in the week, is the inherent bias that comes from the market leader providing codes, sort of in a hostage situation, really, providing codes to the media. And look, I saw a lot of honest reviews and scores that didn't match.
And just say, Risket, that video was really good. If you guys haven't seen it, go and watch it.
Yeah, I got a bit angry. There's a few swear words in there.
Especially when he dropped his beer can, that was the best part.
Yeah, when I knocked my beer can over. Yeah. Well, I had been drinking for 3 days at that point. No, I hadn't. Look, and I'm going to read you a couple of these reviews. They're absolutely nuts. In fact, what I might do is I might put them on screen because I just... It was kind of dumbfounded. And these are the worst examples. But a lot of the reviews were just they would say these things that were honest and true, and then they would score at 100. And you were like, what? It doesn't make any sense. And IGN France highlighted exactly how they reviewed it, and they did it in a very poor fashion. Look, IGN France said, if we were to judge Part 1 only as a remake, which isn't anything gameplay or story-wise, the score would be 70. But at the end of the day, Naughty Dog Masterpiece is getting its very best version, so it couldn't be anything less than a perfect 100. It makes absolutely no fucking sense at all. You're supposed to be reviewing. You're supposed to be reviewing the game, the remake, whatever it is that you're reviewing on its merits. And you've reviewed the game.
You can't call it a remaster because it's a remaster of a remaster. That's the only reason it's being called the remake. And you're absolutely right. How can you say that in the first sentence? We would score it a 70. At the end of the day, it's that's an oxymoron if I've ever seen an oxymoron. It's just ridiculous, and I think you said it in your video really, really well, Risket, and I do recommend everyone go watch it. IGN and all these shills in the media have really lost any respect from the community, and it's why we go to content creators like Risket, like everyone knows the concept. I personally like Skill Up. I really trust his judgment. It's because it's the only place you can get an honest opinion now. And what you said at the start, they are holding them hostage, aren't they, Risket?
Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to give you a copy because you didn't give us a good review. That's disgusting. And I think you also said in your video that something at the end in regards to I can't remember, but
I said a lot. I said a lot. You'll have to watch it. There's a good way to get people over there. Look, and the other one that I kind of wanted to highlight, and we did get Stevior's review, and Stevior's traditionally extremely harsh, and they may lean towards Xbox. I'll 110% admit that, but that doesn't preclude them from giving Xbox games harsh reviews, and they have, and they do. But Attack of the Fanboy, these guys do not hold back. They did not hold back on Halo. These guys will just let a game have it if it deserves it. And I don't agree with 60. I think 60's low. And I do, and again, caveat, I did want this game. I wanted The Last of Us Part 1, with a graphical update. That would be fine. Charged at 60. I know Umbra's going to say 50, but 60, I get it. Your top tier price is 70. Drop it $10. That's what you do for remakes, remasters. That's what you do. It's a pretty standard
40.
thing to do.
Not 50.
40. Right. So, and what Attack of the Fanboy said is, if you haven't read it on screen yet, said with a hefty price tag and less content, then it's more acceptable PS4 counterpart. The Last of Us Part 1 is an entirely unnecessary remake with gorgeous graphics that only make its dated gameplay stick out even more. And look, fair enough. Like, absolutely fair enough. 60's a bit low. It's been a major issue with the media for so long. It's been highlighted for so long. People have pointed it out and shown the inconsistencies. And the media just seem to pretend like it's just not going on. Even so far as to see, Alana Pierce saying it's all a myth. Bullshit, it's a myth. If it's a myth, then why can't Stevie get codes from PlayStation? Why are they going onto Twitter begging for codes, asking people if they have a code for this, and then out and out saying PlayStation will not give us codes anymore because of our poor review? I can't remember what game it was. That shouldn't be happening. There should be some sort of law in place to stop that from happening, because that is holding the media hostage. That is creating an environment in which you do not get the facts. You get.
That's what you said. The media should, the companies like Sony or the publishers should be afraid of the media, not the other way around. I thought that was incredibly apt and very well said.
Yeah,
it's not like Alana Pierce, by the way, who works for Sony, is going to tell you like, oh yeah, Sony said, or say anything negative about them. So I couldn't take her serious on that anyway. Being honest,
Yeah.
What is she going to say? She's working with what, Naughty Dog? Yeah,
She's an Aussie.
not
Don't
gonna
pick on Alana.
she's not going to. That's even more reason not to trust her. By the way, she's Australian and she's from where Pete is from.
Oh my
So
god.
that's 10 plus negative right
Wow.
there.
I
mean,
don't think
Toxic
they-
Umbra. I'm taking over, cutie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't
hashtag we want more toxic
Oh
cutie.
my god! Wow. Okay. Look, I don't think they gave codes to people who were just going to give good reviews. Because I've seen both ends of the scale in regards to, oh my god, it's amazing, and they're probably coming from a point of like, they played the games before and they have that nostalgia, they have that love for the game, which I feel like it's not a true review of the game if they've played it before, I suppose. But on the other end of the scale, so Game on Oz, which is the website and business that I write for, Royce
Shameless
Wilson,
plug. Go on.
Royce Wilson.
What's that again, Doomy? I didn't get it. What was the name?
Game on Oz.
Game on
on
Oz.
Oz.
Head to the website now and
plug.
sign up for your free
my
copy
God.
of Doomy's review. Sorry. Go.
No, it's not my review. So Royce Wilson, he's worked as a journalist for many, many years. And basically he's said it is completely inexcusable to charge $100 US Australian dollars plus for what is essentially a graphical overhaul of a decade-old game that's already had a remaster and pretty much everyone has already played.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, look, agree, Doomy, but I'm going to go push back up against your point of like they only give codes to people who review them. That they didn't. They're obviously Game on Oz is a fairly new. I imagine it's a few years old. Aggregate site or news reporting site, and so if he keeps giving reviews like that, I will literally put my house on the fact that you will stop getting codes from PlayStation. We've seen it more than once.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and Steve Orr is just one of the major ones who actually came out and said it. Like, they said it. No one else has said it, but other sites have been refused review codes because of previous poor reviews. So, look, it is happening. That's just so shady, like so absolutely shady. And I think that reviews should be the point at which, publishers and developers take a look at the review. Obviously not every review is going to be bang on. They're very subjective, but take a look at the reviews as a whole and go, okay, we need to do better, or okay, we did the right thing here. And overwhelmingly, every single one of these reviews that you read says, if you have played the game before, it is not worth the price of entry. But here's 100. Here's
Sounds
5
like
out of
what I
5.
said.
Here's 95.
Sounds like what I told you, Risk. It almost really. That's why I told you. It's like, don't buy that game. Not for that price. It's even worse for you all over there, but for the pricing. So it's like, why? You've played it. It's the same game. It's just prettier. Now, if it's somebody new coming into it, I can understand that. I wouldn't even argue against it. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. You've played this game 3 times. What's the use?
Personally, for me, I hate to tell people what to do with their money. All I can do is talk from my perspective and my situation. I do love the original's Last of Us. I went out, basically had a situation where I did own a PS3 early in the generation, but my basement had like a mini flood where my PS3 was on the floor. So I just went 360 that generation for the most part. But I really wanted to play The Last of Us, and I bought a PS3 after I owned a PS4 to play it. So, and the fact that they did the remaster didn't bother me. It was my decision. I'm not going to be upset with a company for making their money. And I did get the remastered version as well, because that 60 FPS for that game is a huge deal. It is, to me, that made it so much better. It made it so much more worth it for me personally. But after having played through the game 3 times already, it's so hard for me to justify this remake. To me, it's the best version of half the game, which is cool, but at the end of the day, it's missing half the game, and I actually loved The Last of Us Factions a lot. I was super disappointed when Naughty Dog ended up low-key saying, we did say that Factions 2 is going to be in The Last of Us Part 2, but we're going to rip that out now. And I'm just like, okay, so the game is worth half the price. And I literally waited for The Last of Us 2 to be $30 before buying it. And the fact that the game was purposely made as divisive as it was, the wait didn't really bother me so much personally. But
So, Cassie, let me ask you then, if you feel that way, how do you justify paying a full $70 then for this?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, I thought you
I
said you
made
were
a-
buying it.
I did not buy the game. Will I buy the game? Probably when it's on PC, because PC's been my go-to this generation, and I'll probably buy it when it's at a decent discount.
Gotcha.
But it's disappointing to me because one third of my gameplay for The Last of Us was the story itself, whereas 2/3 of my gameplay over 100 hours that I saw on PS4. I can't see how many hours I played the PS3 version. I definitely played over 100 hours on the PS4 alone. 2/3 of that was to factions. I know a lot of people. I always get this pushback where like most half the gamers didn't even play factions, and I literally go look up on in the PlayStation trophies how the percentage of people that actually got the easy trophy for completing Last of Us story. It's less than half too. So I mean, like that's not really an argument to me. I think that the game, like I said, half the game is better than ever. The other half is just gone into the ether. I'm highly anticipating Factions 2. That's something that I will buy. But it's sad that we're accepting a re-release of a game within 10 years for this is the second re-release. And I understand it's a remake, new assets. It's not like they bullshitted this. Like Naughty Dog, they have a level of quality to them. But I think that doing The Last of Us remake is just a cash grab when The Last of Us TV show is coming out. It just you're going to introduce new people to a TV show that's probably going to be like, oh, this is based off a video game. Let me buy this $70 game. And it's just a lot of strange things, strange choices. Like for me, I was hyped for like I said, Destroy All Humans 2 remake, because that's like that game came out in 2006, and I hadn't played it for so long. So I barely even remember a lot of the stuff in the game. And I was like smiling from ear to ear because it's like I'm reliving like my childhood some of the stuff I forgot about. Whereas The Last of Us, I played it multiple times. I remember it pretty clearly. So I don't really need to run out and spend $70 on this game. But in regards to like Metacritic and all that, these people, their opinions have been so worthless to me for years now. Every time there's this discussion on a number on Twitter, I just roll my eyes and move on. Like I roll my eyes and I'm just like, okay, I'm not engaging in Twitter today, because it's just silly to me that people actually give credibility to these media journalists that don't even like video games. A lot of them, from what I've seen, some of them can't even play video games that have been reviewing games for a very long time, and there's actually proof of that.
That bothers me.
That Cuphead video is one of the best examples of
yes,
that.
and trust me, that dude's not the only one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that 100%.
That to me at this point, and I mean, people may think I'm harsh for this. The media to me is only there for me to mock and shame. I just don't take them seriously. I'd rather listen to some asshole in their kitchen talk about a game they're passionate about on a webcam, on a 720p webcam, than actually look at a number on Metacritic and read
literally
through
just
these
described
people's
me.
opinions.
She's talking about you, mate. Oh,
it's interesting you said that. It's interesting you said that though, Cassie, because
Cassie,
a few people have said that before already. They said that people have started to trust journalists less and have started to listen more to influencers and podcasters more.
Yeah, Cassie, you're
I
you're so right.
I was going to say, Cassie, that I think what makes it even more egregious is the fact that they're not even selling the PS4 remaster anymore, and this is the only version you can get. And like you said, it's half a game at what? I think the last time I saw it at EB Games, it was $10. That would be the copy that I would personally go and get. It has the full game to it. It already looks beautiful. It plays the same. It just doesn't have that extra layer of graphics on top of it. But I think that's
disappointing. I didn't even know that. Yeah, that's like a slap in the face. You're purposely killing factions, a player base of dedicated people that would love for other people to go check it out, especially if they play who knows, they could play The Last of Us, this remake, and hear about the fact that factions exist and go check that out, like you're kind of destroying a base, a potential increase in that user base. But it doesn't really matter. It's not like, I mean, to Sony, it doesn't really matter, is what I should say, because, well, they obviously don't want anything to compete with Factions 2. And, well, I'm sure they don't really upkeep Factions at all, which is why I haven't returned in a really long time, despite having the window of opportunity to do so. It's just, I just don't want to be there for something that Sony doesn't seem to care about very much, sadly.
Well, look, I kind of wanted to take this conversation a little bit further as well, because this just bugged me. And this guy started following me the other day. And I don't know if it's just to keep an eye on me. I thought it was really weird that I released a video absolutely slating the dude, and then he started following me. But I welcome him. If he ever watches the show, I welcome you to come on the show and just get your ass handed to you, dude, because you're an absolute clown. This guy, take him. What an absolute clown. Okay, so if you don't know Take Him is, he works for Bloomberg, which is supposed to be a reputable rag. And that's really all it is to me, an absolute rag, mate. Like this guy's out there. You know, he's supposed to be impartial. This is journalism. You are the media. If you're not impartial, you're supposed to keep it to yourself. And when you write a review, when you write an article, you are supposed to look at it from an impartial point. If you can't do that, that's journalism 101. If you can't do that, then you can't be a journalist. And I'll say exactly what I said in the video. If I was running Bloomberg, this dude would be packing his bags and he would be out the fucking door, like immediately. After writing something like this, he's taking a shot at Xbox. Shouldn't be doing that. You're a damn journalist, you know. And then saying something like, "I will gladly pay $70 for each banger after banger after banger," and I'll say the same thing I said in the video. $70 doesn't guarantee quality. If it did, BioWare and Anthem would have been a banger. Like if the past of a studio guaranteed you quality. You know, BioWare wouldn't be sitting where it is. There's plenty of other studios that I could highlight that just lose their way. It happens all the time. It happens to every studio. Every studio has their day in the sun, and then slowly the sun sets, man. And because people move on, developers move on, they start new studios. New things happen. Look at Visceral Games, like one of the best studios that has ever existed, doesn't exist anymore. So $70 doesn't guarantee you quality. And then just running around slating a console maker, and then propping up another one, it just shouldn't happen if you're a journalist.
I could take it even a little bit further than this.
Mm-hmm. I want to hear it.
Why do gamers continue to validate the media that blatantly over the years has shown their absolute disdain for gamers themselves?
That is a $64,000 question. It really is.
Well, you know what? I think it comes down to that craving for social status, and you know they see these journalists on Twitter or wherever, and you know they try and stroke them just to see what they can get from them. It's very blind loyalty. I don't think any of it's quite genuine.
Yeah.
So, but you know what? I will say, I think potentially the gaming journalist environment is under more pressure than what we see, in the sense that I can imagine you have to be a journalist, you have to be a somewhat public figure, and you also have to play games. So it's, unfortunately, being a gamer is not always in sync with having a full-time job or you know, having the pressures of the kind of work that they do. So at times people will say, "Oh, well, you're not a real gamer. You haven't spent X amount of hours in the game. Blah blah blah. How can you give it this score?" And often that would only come up if someone doesn't agree with the score. And I don't know. It must just be this this negativity, feeding the negativity and creating sort of this toxic. Well, I'm in the media. You're not. You know, my opinion is more valid than yours, and that's how it may come across. So look, I think it's a tricky situation, and look, I'm not out here to judge or to tell anyone what to do with their life, but at the end of the day, if you know, try and contribute positively to the communities that you're in. That's what I try and do. Yeah, and that's
Yeah, look, I'll throw in a caveat here as well. There are some new
Cutie said that?
there are some new
Wait a
media outlets
Wow.
coming up through the and look, Cutie's site that she writes for, because Cutie is in the media site that she writes for, I know is under a mandate to remain impartial. I know that that's a fact because we've talked about it. I've tried to
appreciate that.
I've tried to encourage Cutie to be more toxic and to be less impartial, but she
look.
she refuses to do it. But look, I know that they're under a mandate to do that, and they're also under a mandate to not engage in console wars. This dude's
I'm going to play devil's advocate, risk it. Take Kim wrote that little thing that he wrote on his own personal Twitter, did he not? It wasn't aligned with Bloomberg. He's allowed to have a personal preference on his personal Twitter account. I think that when worlds collide like that and people get fired for what they put out on their personal accounts, I don't.
It's
like
not personal.
that.
It's not personal.
It's
It's
aligned
his,
with Bloomberg.
it's his Twitter account.
Kotaku?
Yeah, he's with Bloomberg. His Twitter account.
It's in his bio that he works for Bloomberg, but that means you're allowed to put that in your bio. It's not like his personal account isn't linked with Bloomberg. It's not put under the Bloomberg logo. So I think he's allowed to, as long as when he writes an article, he doesn't put his political bias in that actual article. And I think that's where the problem comes. These people are unable to remove their personal biases from when they're actually judging a game or reviewing a game. If they're able to do that, I have no problem with it. But what you were saying, Cassie, I have to disagree a little bit. Or sorry, what you were saying, Doomy, I have to disagree a little bit. I think if you're going to go into gaming journalism, you have to be able to game. I mean, that's part and parcel. You're not going to go and be a political journalist if you don't know anything about politics. And I just think that you have to be able to play a game in order to review a game, and not only play a game, but have some kind of background knowledge of where games have come from in the past. So you have some sort of, point where that you can articulate like, oh, this game is good because of, and if you remember this. And I don't think that you can be objective if you don't know what you're doing. And it seems to me that a lot of them don't.
I agree.
Look, I would need some examples because I don't personally look into these people and their gamer scores or whatever.
No, neither do I. But that Cuphead video was a perfect example.
No, I know that.
And I think Cassie said that there's numerous people like that, and we have seen more examples of it as well. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but it does seem to me that the only thing you need to get into gaming journalism now is a journalism degree, and it's known that people are using these easier things to get into different journalism. So they'll get into a gaming journalism and they'll use it as a platform to get into things that they would more to prefer to be in. And so once you have some articles out there in the real world and you have some experience to point to, then they'll try and get a job elsewhere or where they really wanted to work in the first place. And I think it should be more like the way you do it, Doomy. So they Game on Oz, I think, was incredibly smart to find you because you're a gamer at heart, first. But you also have the capability of writing a really good article, and I think that should be the way that things are done.
Our team.
When did he get this nice?
Every single person on the as a writer, as part of Game on Australia, we've all been gamers first, and we just so happen to be gamers who, I have a degree, so I can write stuff. I can write good.
But you know what's the true shame of it? I think that a lot of these really big media organizations that are around game that are involved in gaming, like your IGNs, like your Kotakus, I think that they have ruined the platform, the way these websites operate with their bad faith, because they would go after the clickbait, and they would do it in some really nasty ways that was meant to infuriate the people they're trying to get in, to look at their articles. And it's like, I do feel bad for a lot of these smaller scale news media organizations that do have people that are passionate about gaming, that do try to do the right thing. Because when I do mention, I never like to talk in absolutes because there's always outliers from what I'm describing. So it really does suck for a lot of these journalist websites that do try to do the right thing because they are overshadowed by the bigger names. But
Yeah,
I think that at this point,
if anything, for a small one like my own, the one that I'm on, we're competing with just some massive clickbait websites that are, there's always an agenda, and like my editor, he's always he will read my stuff and he's like, can you be more critical? Are you being too nice? And he's always challenging us to write in a more I guess not criticizing, but in a more truthful, more okay, here are the good parts, what are the bad parts, and even if it is something that you love.
Oh, tell him to come and hire me. I'm critical as fuck. Look, I'll
also console war. So.
I'll add just to what Pete, to what you said there. Yeah, it's a personal account, but it's a verified account, Pete. So if you have a verified account, you're either in the government, in the media, and verified as a journalist on. So, and whilst it may be a personal account, he's in that space. So if you're a government official, and you were supposed to be, you say the FTC, and you started jumping on there as a personal person on your personal account and shouting out Sony, would that be okay? No, it wouldn't be okay. And it's not okay for a journalist to do it either. It's 110% not okay, whether it's his personal account or not. And he'd be out the door. That'd be it for me. Yeah, well, he'd be out the door.
I think at this point, a lot of journalists realize that journalism in the way that it's been done is changing.
Yes.
A lot of people aren't going out of their way to go to these websites for people's opinions anymore. In some instances, it's deserved, and in others, it's sad. But I think at this point, a lot of these journalists will put out their hot takes using their personal accounts to become mini celebrities so that people will tune in for what they have to say, because at some point, these websites are going to become irrelevant.
I think they kind of already are.
I also want to know if his take on it was an opinion piece or an actual review. I think there needs to be a differentiation between the two as well. A lot of journalism these days they're presenting as facts when it's just an opinion piece, and I think that's why. And this is a whole take on the media as a whole. That they're no longer just telling you the facts. They're now putting their opinions into it, but they're presenting it as facts. And that's where a lot of trust has been eroded in the media as a whole. And I think that the differentiation of that really needs to be at the forefront. So you need to tell somebody if this is just strictly their opinion or as if they're presenting it as fact. And I think that's another big thing.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Pete. I'll also add, like, during this whole situation with COVID and everything like that, it seems like a lot of the clickbait picked up heavy for these sites. I know because, they couldn't be in office. So there's a lot of people being let go, people working from home and things like that. So a lot of these sites, the Kotakus and the Bloombergs, such as Jason Schreier, is what's his name? Infinite AA, my cousin, apparently. He pointed out, they started writing kind of in their own opinionated pieces, but it was presented as facts, like you said, Pete, and it definitely had a lot of clickbait intent, behind it. So yeah, I agree with everything you said, pretty much.
Yeah, well, look, I understand, Pete, your point of view, the way you're saying that it shouldn't work like that, but that is the way that it does work. Sports players, I'm of the view that you are. Like, they shouldn't go into say a cricket star or a baseball star or a basketball star's personal life, and it shouldn't, and their views that they put out there shouldn't reflect on the game that they play. But it's even more so with journalists because the game that they play is what they say. And when they're on their Twitter,
it's a very slippery slope, and we've seen people lose their job and their livelihoods and how they provide for their family over it, and I don't like it. I have a real objection to it as a whole. I just don't.
Yeah,
I think that the personal and professional have become too intertwined.
It's not the same thing when it's a sports person, as it's probably maybe a bad analogy, but like when what you say and what you write is what you do as a profession, then you need to be careful with what you say and what you write in your personal Twitters. And
this is going to get pretty political, but that just goes against America's First Amendment rights as a freedom to express yourself.
I'm not American.
I know, but we also have a freedom of speech in Australia as well. And I think that it really does lean into that, where you have to hold back on a lot of topics because of the being afraid to express how you really feel, and all that does is censor people. And in democracies, ideas are everything. Good ideas, bad ideas. The way to beat a bad idea is to beat it with a good idea, not to censor it.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should be censored. I'm just saying, if you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes.
You are saying they should be censored.
I think he's biased. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're displaying bias and you're reviewing, and you said
that he should get fired because of it.
Absolutely.
So you are saying he should be censored.
No, he absolutely should be fired. I don't think he should be in the media. If he's got to display biased opinions, then yeah, he should be. Like, how could he be trusted? It goes to his credibility.
But then we'd fire everyone. Then the mass majority of the media. I mean, if you look at politics and all this stuff, how insanely biased is the mass majority of media nowadays? To me, the problem is not. It's like the problem is the media. Let's be real now. But the fact that what really truly bothers me is that bonuses are dependent on Metacritic scores. Like, why are we the gamers, as well as these companies, valuing the media when we know that they're biased, when there's proof of shenanigans going on? We should definitely be pressuring game companies to stop doing stupid things like tying workers' bonuses to somebody's opinion. Like, that's ridiculous to me. And when we do find insane biases, like, oh, if you didn't review our game nicely the last time, well, we're not going to give you recode. Like, what is this? Like, the fact that it's gotten this far, to me, is so concerning. And it really does need to stop.
Cassie,
you asked what is it?
Get a
it's
sequel
Sony.
Because of what the scores were on Metacritic. So we lost an entire game because Sony didn't like the scores they got on. That to me is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it sold pretty well. I guess you guys could take the opinion that if you're sacking that dude, then you're sacking everyone. But he is supposed to be impartial. It doesn't breed faith or good faith in his opinion, his professional opinion, when he is out there displaying bias, man, like that. It's just stupid. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a bias. Of course,
but my question though is, what is a review?
You shouldn't promote a bias. What is a review? A subjective opinion. That's what
exactly.
That's exactly what a review is. But as well, when you're doing a review, and you're aware that sometimes these games are, this is a slippery slope also, that some people's bonuses are tied to these reviews, that may affect your review negatively or positively as well. You're right. You're absolutely right. The point that you made is absolutely bang on. But then there's different perspectives to look at it from, and neither of them are good. They're not positive. Really good point.
Just to say a review, like you pointed out, is a subjective thing. Bias is a slightly different thing. Bias comes into play with your review or with how you see things, but bias can lead to, you positively or negatively affecting something from your prejudice or something like that, of that subjective opinion.
Yeah, so I think when bias comes in, it means that there's, I'm spinning my opinion to look a certain way so that I can gain XYZ, whatever it is.
Yeah, for me, like reviewers that I tend to gravitate toward, and they could have bias. I really can't say for sure, because we don't know we can't read people's minds. And if it goes to that point, like, we really need to question like what's going on. But for me, when I look at reviewers that I like, they're YouTubers, obviously. Either they go through every important factor of a game, like for example an ACG, and intricately discuss every important key factor of a game. What I would hope is unbiased, like without bias. Or I look at reviewers that are YouTubers, for me personally, that like similar little things about a genre or a game or a franchise that we agree on, like something very particular. And when they talk about these games that they're into, and what they have their similarities to me, like I go to them because it's like, okay, they're into this for the same reason I am. It's like an example, like a Happy Console Gamer. Like these are the people that I kind of look to, and I can't really say for sure if they have bias or not. I can't read their minds. I don't want to, but at the end of the day, it's just, we just need to really evaluate the nastiness of the industry, because there is an ugly underbelly that industries that have existed before gaming, film, music, like they've experienced the same sorts of things. And we can look back historically and realize the gaming industry is going down the same route, and we could either contribute to these negative aspects or try and change them.
Absolutely. I do want to move on from the topic. Does anyone else want to add anything before I do? Because I know it's a very loaded topic, but we have sat on it.
And another thing.
And another.
I think we're done. That went on way longer than I thought it
everywhere.
would, actually, funny enough.
No, but you know what? It's important because, but I think everywhere there's going to be bias, no matter whether it's the gaming industry, politics, everything like that. And it's much bigger than just gaming. So, and yeah, if we can just be nice and
yeah. I mean, my whole point here is everyone has bias. That's you can't you're human, right? That's fine. Just don't bring it to your journalism. In journalism, step back and be impartial. And there's a specific type of person that can do that, and there's a specific type of person that can't. And there's a lot of content creators that can do that, and there's a lot of content creators that can't. I mean, find the content creators that you trust.
You're the one who can't.
That align with your opinion. No, I can be extremely impartial. A lot of people call me an expert, but my game of the last generation was God of War, and I love The Last of Us. So I'm not.
Bit pointed out ACG. I think ACG is excellent, and I think Skill Up is as well. And I think that's why they're succeeding so much, because the media has become too biased.
Yep, absolutely. It's opened up a space, so in a way there's a positive there, but I'm going to move on from this topic, otherwise we could sit on it all day, I do think. But before I do, guys, if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, please just slip out, hit that like button, come back on in, share it out with your friends, let everyone know where we are and that we are not biased just because it says Xbox Infinite, whatever. Moving on to the next topic.
Named after me.
Definitely wasn't named after Umbra. It was unfortunately named after Halo. And I wasn't going to go to Halo, but you know what? I'm going to skip topics. We're going to go straight to Halo because this is the other one that I'm pretty passionate about and a little bit pissed off about, to be honest. And cannot believe it. Like, I can't believe it. I was like, you guys can't be for real. You
can't be serious.
Are you serious, right? This is what you're doing? And then you said stake in the ground. Oh, my God. It's a what? Hey, there's a date. There's a release date. Doesn't mean anything. Just a stake in the ground. Stop giving dates, you muppet.
Wow.
What are you doing? Look, what are you doing to the tentpole franchise of Xbox? This is it may not be the biggest seller now. It may not have the biggest player base now, or have had in total, but it is the tentpole franchise. And like Umbra, your tweet said, when Phil quoted this, is Phil, you quoted Phil, and he said, when Halo loses its way, Xbox loses its way. And that's 110% true. That is how important this franchise is to the bloody company. And what are they doing, man? They're doing 6-month seasons with 2 maps and a weapon, and a free battle pass as an apology. You know what I want as an apology? I want them to get rid of the goddamn contractors and bring in some full-time staff and just hammer this game. Now, someone had a go at me, and Pete, you're actually kind of in agreement with a lot of the guys I was speaking to in a space, and they're saying there's a point at which you just have to cut your losses. You've spent too much money on this franchise as it is. Cut your losses, move on, get a new engine, start from scratch. No! I know you guys can absolutely have that opinion, that's fine. But this game is good. It has great bones. It is actually great. The game is great. It is a great game. It has some issues. Yes, fix them. It has no content. Yes, make some. Make better decisions. Get a better manager. Like release Forge at launch, you wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I could guarantee it. The thing that may save Halo is that they're doing a Forge beta in this third season. So that's good. But let me quickly just read out, or I'll bring up on screen here. If I can just quickly zoom in. I'll bring up on screen here what we're getting for season 3. So you got Forge beta, so that's something. You're getting campaign, network co-op, and mission replay. Yay! You're getting detachment, Nargol, 2 new maps. Yeah. I mean,
that's not season 3.
You're getting
season 3 doesn't start till March.
Sorry, this is
that's basically season 2, which is going to basically be a 10-month season now. A 10-month season for their almost a year. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right. Actually,
insanity.
My bad. It should. Yeah, you're right. It is kind of season, but dude, like, they're just splitting it up into this. Yeah, this just it is season 3. It's not called. I don't. It's even worse that they didn't call it season 3. Like.
Listen, even at the point like UVA fans saying, how can you have a beta for a game that came out a year ago? The bigger problem is they have a beta, for instance, for like match XP. Like, how far behind are they that even match XP after a match now is being added and it's a beta for that? It's like, come on, y'all.
What are they doing?
You just lose so much faith in them daily. It's ridiculous, man. Or every time you get an update, it's like, it feels like you got to kind of grind your teeth a little bit before you read or see what they're talking about. It's
or breathe.
Always something.
You just deep breathe.
Unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to look at this. Like, what the?
Well, you guys,
Breathe, mate. Just breathe.
as we're talking about Halo, currently DreamHack in Melbourne, they're currently hosting the Halo
Championship
esports event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. HCS is on Melbourne at the moment. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which is cool.
Look, the game isn't dead, and it has good bones, and we're all sad. We're all just really sad, I think, about it at this point.
Yeah, because we love it. Like I said, the game is great. It could have been like the greatest Halo of this decade. Like it almost is. Like, it just gameplay wise, it's so good, but content wise, it's so
crazy,
bad.
Isn't it? Yeah,
it's
like, we have all these thoughts and we all feel so terrible about what they're doing, right? But it's still like they ask in the chat, J-Rock, we playing it tomorrow or, tonight, I guess, for us, or whatever it may be. And it's like, yeah, let's play that. Let's play Halo. Even despite us knowing all the issues it has, we still want to get into this game. It's sad a little bit. Not a little bit, it's sad a lot. It's my favorite IP. But it's a shame that even with all its faults, we're still like, yeah, let's get into this. But imagine had they not made so many mistakes and all the way the fan base would be right now. They lost so much goodwill with all of us. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. It's not dead, though.
I just want to say
it's dying. But
I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go. You're right. I'm just saying it's not dead. It is dying, though. It's slowly suffocating to death. But Cage, you're right. You go.
Yeah, I just want to say that I didn't wait in a torrential rainfall for like 6 hours on the side of a Best Buy in like October of last year for this lack of content. This Halo
dedication. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, and I'm not even like for me, Xbox hasn't been my go-to. Oh, I didn't even wait day one, but I did feel like towards the end of last year, like Xbox is finally gonna get it together. They got Halo Infinite coming out, Forza Horizon 5 was coming out. Like, I was like, this is this is where I can jump into Xbox and they're going to have a consistent flow of content and they're really picking up steam. Because it's like, if the games are there, I want to be there. Like, it doesn't matter to me what platform you're on. Like, I've always been wholehearted in getting whatever console I have to have the best experience of gaming all around, especially if I can share it with my friends. Because a lot of my friends are multi-platform gamers just like me. But this Halo, man, and a lot of my early content on the channel was talking about, like, I don't want this Call of Duty. I thought I wanted Battlefield, but I don't anymore. Like, for me, it's all in on Halo at the time. And now, like, a couple of months ago, I deleted Halo off of my PC. I moved on to PC. Unfortunately, my Series X just collects dust, and I'm just on my PC. And I had to delete it off my system. And it's just like, I feel like it's in self-respect to myself with the state of Halo. Maybe I'll feel differently after I'm kind of over, like, how badly this launch has gone. But, like, I do feel like it's disrespectful to myself to support 343 with all of the nasty things that came out with particular race-based issues that I don't want to get into. But also just the lack of content, when they specifically said the great thing about Halo Infinite will be that we have developed all this content to keep a consistent flow of content. I was holding them to that. I thought, man, they get it. Like, we're going to have, like, a good game. At this point, I have zero faith in service games. Just let me pay for a season pass and maps, because you owe it to me at that point. I've paid for the product. You must deliver. It feels to me as though with giving away free maps, they don't feel like they're entitled to give the gamers a good product that feels like it has an effective amount of content to please your players. And to me, I'd rather just pay for the maps. Let me pay for it at this point.
Yeah.
Jeez,
Cassie, they're not
Cassie's
even.
on her. Cassie's on her.
See,
she's
they're
got
not
the
even
mic.
real maps. They're just Forge built maps. They're not even real maps. The ones they're giving away for free. They were built in Forge. They're not developer made maps. It's absolutely disgusting. What they're giving us. A 10-month season for a tentpole franchise is just not good enough. And it goes back to my point that I was speaking to Riskin about. When do you just give up on this engine? Yes, I get that the game is incredibly fun, and I get that we all love it and we love playing it, but the problem has become that the engine is basically unusable. It's unworkable. Whenever they try and implement any change in this game, it seems to create a problem, and it's because the engine is just being duct taped together by the workforce, where they just contracted everybody, and now they can no longer work there, and the network team basically are just so overworked now with all the problems. They don't know what to do, to the point where they've just completely gotten rid of one of the things that made Halo great in the first place. Split screen co-op. That's just now gone. Doesn't exist anymore. And
I don't know,
J-Rock
man. I don't
mentioned
wanna-
the
I don't wanna
unmentionable one in the chat. He mentioned Bonnie Ross. I'm not sure if we should get into that topic, Jay, because we'll probably be here forever, mate.
Oh, string her up. Honestly, at this point,
he did ask whether or not she should be fired or demoted. But sorry, Cassie, you go.
I don't know if it's a situation with the engine. I mean, I'm sure the engine probably has its trials and tribulations, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, Escape from Tarkov runs on, like, the Unity engine. Like, the stuff that they've been able to do is insane.
At this stage, Cassie, what else could it be? I mean, honestly, what else
Well,
could
look,
it be?
we do actually know.
It is just
we do actually know
poor
that
leadership.
it is horrible leadership, but we do actually know, and we know a couple of people that have links to inside, and basically what's going on at the minute. They're still working on the engine, Cassie. This is honest to God. I'm not saying we're insiders, but this is just at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not saying that.
Riska always says this.
I'm definitely not saying this, but this is just what we've heard from someone who's pretty credible. It's still working on the engine, and
I'm not discrediting that. I'm sure it's definitely an issue.
What's happening is whenever they do something, basically something else breaks somewhere, then they got to spend like a month trying to fix what it broke, right? And then that just holds back content, and that's kind of what's going on. And the other issue is, and a lot of people, I don't know, seemingly don't know this, is that They brought in contractors. Microsoft has a deal with contractors where they can only work for the company for 10 months. For that 10-month period, they have to move on and they bring in new contractors. And I think it's 50% or over of 343 is contractors. And they initially had them working on the bones of the game, which is the engine. And
I get what Cassie's saying as well, but Risket, like, she is right where the data that just came out recently suggests that Last Spartan Standing, which was their big Season 2 hope, was the least played Halo mode ever. Everybody hates it. And I know 343 is trying to put their own stamp on the game, move away from what Bungie did, but when you don't have modes like Infection out there, which the community has been crying out for, when you hear them just recently come out and say they're concentrating on competitive mode, and the heart of Halo has always been about this competitive mode, that's not the heart of Halo. The heart of Halo has always been fun, and then the competitiveness is built around that, and I think that 343 just don't understand that. So it's also, she's absolutely right where she says it's a leadership issue. I don't think they understand the franchise that they're working on. I think that they're focusing way too much on things like HCS, Doomy. Like, yes, okay, it's great that they're having HCS in Melbourne, but I'm sorry, the amount of money that they're pouring into the Halo Championships could be directed elsewhere. And I think that they're using their money in the wrong way. You get the casuals playing this game, and the competitive mode will follow, and the competitive, and that's why Halo 3 to this day is the most fun mode in Halo to me in terms of multiplayer. It's just
So,
a
Pete,
sandbox
sorry.
of fun for everyone to play.
Yeah, you don't think that seeing people play the game competitively doesn't make people want to play themselves?
Not as much as the other way around.
What do you mean
Not
the
as
other way
much as
around?
the other way
I will
around
say-
is the casuals play the game and they're all having fun, and then the competitive people then get on board and build a community around that. And that's the way Halo always did things. And the fact of the matter is Bungie knew that better than anybody else, where they actually built the game to be fun and push back against the competitive mode. They didn't actually really embrace it. They had to in the end, but they pushed away from it because they felt that it took away from what Halo made great. And when you look at the games that are out there at the moment that are doing incredibly well, games like Fortnite, it's exactly the same thing. The game is fun for the casuals. And yes, they started to make a competitive mode.
Yeah.
That's not how it started. That was all built
I
around the
know.
game being fun in the first place, and I do think that 343 don't quite understand that yet, and doesn't matter how much the community yell and scream, they just don't get that, and even what they talked about in their last little thing where they said that they're not going to be making split screen and all that, when they announced the roadmap, they kept talking about competitive play, and they just don't understand.
I'll say this, Pete.
Yeah, no,
I'll say
I
this.
think
I get
you're
what you're
completely
saying on it.
dismissing. Yeah, I think you're completely dismissing that it's not because they're investing too much money into the competitive side. That is not the reason at all. That's not the shortcomings here. And yeah, it seems like you're attacking esports, which I don't think you should.
No, he's not attacking esports. He's saying that money could be better spent on the game. I think it's a summary.
But
Is
it's
that,
He just wants the game to be made more fun. And I personally, for me, what has made me less and less interested in fighting games is that the companies themselves seem to be diving more so into the esports part of it. And when you put the 1%, what I feel before the 99% of the people
Well
that
said,
buy
Leslie.
and support your game,
said.
that really is discouraging for me personally as a gamer. That I don't.
Exactly.
I'll occasionally watch these competitive stuff, but at the end of the day, I just want a game that when I come home or when I want to play it. I mean, it sucks because I'm trying to indoctrinate my best friend into becoming a gamer. I managed to get her to love Kirby, and more couch co-op things, the better For me
And that's why we
personally,
still play Halo every weekend, because we make custom game browsers and we play and we just make the game more fun with crazy antics. We don't ever play the normal modes where we're running at 10 times the speed and we're using rocket launchers and swords and all this other wacky stuff.
Yeah,
and
look,
that's where the fun
I don't want it. I don't think.
but
I don't think
like,
Pete's
there's a
attacking
competitive-
esports, Doomy. I don't think that's what's happening.
But he's saying that the competitiveness of the game is overtaking the enjoyment of the game. But I don't think they're two separate things. Because
they kind of go hand in hand. That much I agree with.
You guys
They
are
kinda
always
go hand
trying to
in
get
hand.
the most numbers. You guys always like winning, don't you?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, winning is fun.
Yeah.
It is. But the fun factor and the competitiveness, they go hand in hand with Halo. I
don't think investing money in the competitive side is taking away from the.
No,
enjoyment
but
of the game.
I don't think he's quite saying it that way. But my thing of it is to say, the fun factor, and no matter what game you play, matters the most. It has to be. You have to enjoy what you're doing. So that's obvious. But Halo is competitive for sure, and the fun factor brings you in. The competitiveness and how they built the trifecta of things in Halo is what keep us there. And the problem is for 343. And I'll say this just to say, I wouldn't say that they don't understand the franchise or, so I'll disagree a bit there, Pete. I think those in charge are just leading it the wrong way. Because I think most of the devs there, do know and do love Halo, but they're outranked. It's like, what can they do if the people above them are saying, no, we're going to go this direction? You know what I mean?
They brought Joe
one thing that's
Staten on specifically for that.
Exactly,
And I think he's finally leading them in the correct direction.
I agree.
It's going to take a while to re-steady the ship, but this should have been done. This should have been done at
way
launch.
long ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's always too little, too late with them lately.
One thing you guys brought up to me that I didn't realize was that they have contractors involved with Halo. I mean, who knows how that affects the game itself, but I do know, for example, that NetherRealm Studios with Mortal Kombat 11, they have a lot of hired contractors that aren't long-standing with the franchise, and me, as my first console game was Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Mm-hmm. I could tell that the people that made Mortal Kombat 11 don't respect the lore, and to me, the lore is the most important thing. I suck at fighting games. I play Mortal Kombat because I love the lore, I love the characters, and when they butcher that, it kills me inside because that's what has kept me so attached.
That's
and
interesting,
to me,
because we feel that way about Halo. That's the same way we feel about Halo. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm never been a big Halo person, but I want good multiplayer. So if you have a good multiplayer, I'm there for it at this point. Because I've always been more into Call of Duty on 360 than I was Halo. My brother was a huge Halo fan, and it's crazy because he doesn't even play Halo anymore. I played Halo Infinite, and he has played the beta and walked away. And I'm just who are you? You took my Halo 3 copy from me, and you took that bitch over, and that was your game. Like, what?
But it's sad
happened?
though. Like the turn of events. It's sad when I hear that. Like Harky said earlier, and I saw this somewhere else too, and in chats, and then people were like, "Well, Halo is may not be the flagship IP of Xbox anymore." That just breaks my heart to hear. But like you said, Cassie, as far as the lore. That's why I love Halo so much. And so I agree with you 100%. Stuff like that, even in games like fighting games like Tekken, for instance, as wonky as their plot is, I still love the lore of it. So you're right. That's the meat and potatoes. It pulls you in. It keeps you. That's the comfort right there. That's the comfort.
Yep.
Well, see, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation, because that's talking the single player. But I'll just go back to what you were saying, Cassie, with contractors. I was leading into that, but I think someone jumped in. But I was leading into that. So the contractors are an issue, right? But they're only an issue because they're poorly managed. So those contractors should never have been put on the engine. They should never have been put on the engine. They should have been put on things. You get contractors in to maybe do animations, things that can be easily picked up by someone else, and that aren't essential to the running of the game. It goes
further than that, Risk. because not even just them doing it with the engine, but you all have to remember they were going to start it off as a hero shooter. Remember, so it's the plotting all around it that failed. They wanted to do a hero shooter. They had to scrap that. They had a different engine. They scrapped that. Yeah, it's the management. It's the management that doesn't. I think Bunny Ross is not. I know we rail on her a lot. I don't want it to sound like we just team hate Bunny Ross or something like that.
But we do.
At the end of, I don't hate her, but
I don't hate her.
We don't like.
I don't think she's in the right position.
For this position. Yeah. Exactly. It's just that at this point, I think Halo has outgrown her, the need for her to be there. I think at this point,
I think game development that's going to
wanted to make it a hero shooter, and even when they got it right, then they brought in this last Spartan standing mode, which is the least played mode in Halo history. They don't understand what people like. They don't understand what brings us there. And and I'm so happy they brought on Joe, because he really does. He oozes passion whenever he speaks about it. But it is going to take him a little bit of time to work around the problems that they already have. And will Halo be able to survive that timeline? I just don't know.
Will Joe be able to survive the timeline, Pete? Because as you so succinctly put, he seems to have a lot more grey hair. Since
I noticed it in the last video. He's got a lot more grey on the sides.
He does look a little withered. Yeah, he looks a little withered.
He really does. And like I was just going to say that 2023, there's so many games dropping, and I have, for one, has stepped away from Halo for a little bit, just because there's so many other games to play, and when 2023 hits, it's only going to get worse. So yeah, look, I mean, I hate saying that about my beloved Halo. I really do, and I want more than anything for it to succeed. But I just can't see it happening at the moment. They're really they've let me down so many times now. And when they said that dates are no longer, that they can be moved at any stage and they're subject to change, you just can't believe anything you can say anymore.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, stop giving dates. Just stop that. Like, stop doing it. And as a broader statement, like the whole industry, stop giving dates. All right, because you're not meeting your targets, and then you say stuff like it's a stake in the ground. We want to improve the game to give you the polish you deserve. The yada 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 yada.
Dates are the only thing keeping people here. I think honestly, people should just drop the game, and because at this point, it's been well established that the reason Halo Infinite isn't doing as well as it should, because the game is designed overall. In terms of gunplay, it's very nice. I really enjoyed it. I was really excited because of that. But in terms on a content level, the game is not doing nearly as good as it could have, because there's not enough content. It's not justifiable. And for people to drop it, I think that Xbox, unless they want to be ignorant, can evaluate the situation and say, yeah, this was our fault.
Look, it's okay, guys.
That's another thing.
Forza's just going to carry Xbox. It's all right.
That's another thing, by the way.
It is carrying Xbox.
That's another thing. It is, but that's another thing I want to point out, by the way. Where's Phil Spencer and everybody? Like, I would expect to hear him or Matt Booty speaking on this, and that's why I shared what I shared about it. About if we lose Halo, if we lose our way with Halo, we lose Xbox. Where is Phil? He still hasn't spoken about this. That's concerning to me.
You haven't even heard Bonnie Ross talk about it, mate. I mean, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why they're being quiet about it. They know what this means to Xbox. But the only reason that Xbox is around, the Master Chief is the reason that Xbox is still here
and I
today.
think it's time. It's time. Like you said, Bonnie hasn't spoken about it, but I don't think anyone's going to listen to her if she does, Pete. But it's really time for Phil to step out front and go, we know we fucked up. Like, we know
he always says that, though. Yeah. I hope he doesn't come out and say, we hear you. I don't want to hear him say that. I promise. No. I love Phil. I do not want to hear him saying, we hear you for the 1,000th time. I need that man to come out and be like, yes, we failed here. They messed up. This is the changes we're going to make.
He's a free Xbox Game Pass for everyone.
That's what I was going to say. I want him to come out like Oprah. Like, everyone look under your seats. Everyone look under your seats. There's free Game Pass. Like, hell yeah.
At this point, though, seriously, he not only needs to come out and say that, but he also needs to say, hey, these are the changes we're going to make. And I'm sorry, Bunny Ross needs to go. He can word it however nicely he wants to put it, but it should be a point where we are starting to see actual changes behind the scenes. You can't keep expect some type of major shifts and change when you have the same people there making the same mistakes. And listen, I loved certain parts of Halo 4. I love the campaign. Didn't care for the multiplayer as much. Loved Halo 5 multiplayer. Didn't care for the campaign as much. Halo Infinite, they seem to get it right, but then now they have no content, and it's like you get a map or two here and there. Right now we're going on a year just about. It'll be a year before season 3 starts up. 10 months. Come on now.
When we played
it's ridiculous.
when we played the co-op, the beta, it was the most fun that I've had gaming.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It was amazingly fun to play. And so, yes, you're right, the bones are there. And I do think that if certain Affinity can hit with the Battle Royale and the game's up and running with enough content by then, and they can drop some campaign DLC with Joe Staten behind it, his writing, which elevates Halo, incredibly for me. I think that it can have sort of like a second coming. It's just going to take a little bit of time. That's why I'm reluctant to move on from the
you know what though, Pete? I'm
engine.
wondering though, do they have time now? That's the thing that concerns me. I don't know if they have the time anymore. It feels like,
to be honest,
will they rebound? That's what I'm worried about.
No, do you think they should just like quit, cut their losses and just say, hey, we're working on a new one?
A lot of people are saying
one day I think one thing and one day I think another. It's an incredibly difficult question to answer, and it all depends on how certain affinities Battle Royale launches. If the campaign DLC is going to be any good, I think it will. If they can actually fix the problems with the engine, we just don't know. I would love to give Joe time, but I would love to give him, that 2 years to actually work and see his vision for Halo come to fruition, because I think he has earned that.
So I was talking to Paris in his space the other day, Cutie, and I brought to him and I said, if you had to replace, or at this point, is it do we get rid of 343 rather, as far as the developers on this? And it's almost like, how can you do that, right? How can you, at this point, when it's a 10-year plan, they've been in place longer than Bungie now working on the franchise, which is sad. I don't know if it's sad or good. I don't know at this point that they're this far behind and been on a franchise this long. But how do you replace them now?
How can you hand that?
How would that? How do you hand it off? So
how do you hand that shit show to someone? How do you do that? How do you go? Here's a shit show. Fix it. Look, I want to jump in here, and I hate to cut you off, Umbra, but I actually do have a solution, and a lot of people push back on it. But this is what I was about to give a solution. Rich. Right, you go.
I have a solution as well.
You get it there, Umbra. We've all got solutions. Buddy Ross, you stuck. You get your pen out. You get your paper out. You start running.
We're gonna solve everything.
Umbra.
Cancer, world hunger.
Let's go. Fire away. I want to hear this.
No, I was going to say, my thought to Paris was, if you're going to do that and replace them with somebody, a lot of people would say get id Tech, right? But I would say maybe I can see id Tech doing a good job with it. But I would also say, somebody like Machine Games or whoever you decided. I think Certain Affinity would be the best, probably overall pick, right? Because they have so many Bungie ex and former Bungie employees there too. But the way it would have to work, I think, Cutie, is that 5 years or 6 years into the ongoing thing of Infinite, you'll have that other team working on the new Halo. That's the only way I think that could work. So by the time this comes toward the 10-year part or whatever it may be,
one's already
ready. We're moving on to this. That's the only way I think it could work. It'd have to be behind us. It can't be something that they just stop this and didn't do that. It would have to probably be worked under this while it's going on.
Okay.
I would think.
So listen, what I was going to say here, sorry to cut you off, Pete. What I was going to say here and what I said the other day in the space, and we had that conversation, I said that exact thing that you just said, Umbra, first, and then I had a really good think about it. And then I had a really good think about time, the state of the industry, what's going on as a whole for Xbox, so on and so forth. And this is kind of what I think needs to happen if Halo Infinite in its current form is going to survive, and they're going to manage a 10-year plan. They need to either shit or get off the pot. And when I say that, I mean they need to make a decision. Are we all in on Halo, or are we just going to let it continue the way it is and slowly die? Because at the moment, letting it continue the way it is just going to kill it. Now, if they're all in, this is what they do. They manage it as best they can until this acquisition goes through. That's got to be max, even if it gets litigated, that's max 2 years. You could probably keep this game afloat for 2 years, and maybe you'd improve on development as you go. Once you acquire ABK, there's a lot of studios there that support COD. You put COD on hiatus and you turn it into a release every 2, maybe 3 years. You take some of the team that's working on that and put them into Warzone. Obviously, there'd be a team on Warzone as it is, so you probably wouldn't need to take too much of a chunk of your personnel. Right, then you grab all these small studios, Beanox, Toys for Bob, all these guys that are supporting Halo, but have traditionally made extremely good games on their own. You say, what do you want to make? They say, hey, I want to do this. We want to do it. Okay, right, cool. We need you to get Halo up to speed. We need this pipeline sorted. We need this. We need this. So we're going to give you this chunk of Halo. We're going to give you this chunk of Halo. And we're going to give you this chunk of Halo. Knock this out for us in the next year to 2 years. And then you can make whatever IP you want. We'll back you on it. That is how I think you save this game. And I think it's a feasible business way to do it. I don't think you can. I don't think you can pull
versions again.
I don't think you can
Hear you on that.
You can't
Risk,
pull
but-
Machine Games and you can't pull id off their IPs and what they're making and what they want to do to make Halo.
Yes, but if Halo is
I couldn't
Xbox,
disagree more. Honestly, I couldn't
I'm
disagree
kind of
more.
leaning more.
Halo
I
is
think
the
I know where you're
heart
about to
of
go with it.
Xbox.
But go ahead, Pete. I want to hear your thoughts on this.
All I would say is the decision not to hire ex-Bungie staff because they wanted to put their own stamp on it was an incredibly wrong move at the start. And we've seen from Joe Staten and the people that he started to hire, he has started to hire ex-Bungie devs that know Halo better than anybody else. I think that would be the way to go. You have to stay with 343 at the moment, but you put ex-Bungie devs and people that know the
I'm not
franchise.
replacing 343. I'm not replacing 343. I'm assisting 343.
Well, you're assisting them by splitting up the franchise to more and more developers.
No. You say here's the content we want you to make. We want you to make maps. So you make maps, Toys for Bob, all right? And you help this team and do maps.
They're already doing that.
Well, they're not, because you've got 2 maps. That's what they made out of Forge. That's what you got. They're obviously not fucking doing it, are they?
That's because
otherwise we'd have maps.
That's because the engine's broken, and they do have a lack of developers at the moment. They just do. They're trying to hire the.
They've got like 1,500 staff,
they've got about 12 engineer positions that are unfilled at the moment, and that's why we're getting so many network issues, and that's why it's taken them so long to work on the network co-op and also get the desync and the major problems with the engine fixed because the engine is just broken at the moment. But if you split it up like that and you get more other people to work on it, you'll get a very uncohesive game. I don't want that. I want it to all feel like Halo, and I think the best way to solve it is by getting ex-Bungie staff.
No, I totally disagree with that.
Just like you got Joe Staten, and then they can lead.
I can give you about 5 examples right now of games that have been worked on by multiple studios. The Last of Us, God of War. How many? I could keep going. Like how many massive games have taken on heaps of developers?
Sony do
Horizon
things.
Forbidden
so
West.
Basically, the way they do it is they have an initial idea for a franchise, and then Naughty Dog will then
and
help,
it works, dude. It literally works. Like you're saying it's not going to work. You're saying it's not going to work, and I'm giving you examples of where it has worked.
Completely different example. It's a completely different game where they're working on a single-player, story-driven game where everything fits into place. When you're talking about Halo, it's an incredibly different thing because there are it's a live service aspect. There's a single-player aspect. There's the multiplayer aspect, there's the competitive aspect. It's a very, very different situation. It works on PlayStation IPs, but it won't work on a IP like Halo. Incredibly different situation.
I think I understand exactly what both of you are saying on here. I think I agree on that part that it's a little different.
Sorry, Colt just said, I'm going to come back to you, Umbra. I'm total agreement with the idea. Give studios from Activision onto Halo and give 343 Conquer and walk away. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they need something a bit more easy.
As far as that, oh, no, that's
there you go.
Toxic Beauty strikes back. I was going to say, no, I get what both of you are saying. I will say, my thought isn't so much that having other devs on it would make it not Halo. It's the fact, though, that Pete is right that it's much more complex when it comes to something like a first-person shooter. It's the feel of it. So even when you change the engine, even something like that will change how dramatically how Halo is Halo,
Mhm.
right? And that's the issue why they had to keep using a legacy engine before to go to where they're going now, even with Slipspace. That's the problem that they would have. It's because, or if you have something like a Red Dead Redemption 2, that's another one you could have named, by the way, Risk. We had all these developers on it. I think it comes down to management too on how you,
Manage the teams.
Manage these teams. But on top of that, it doesn't have the foundation of having to take care of all those different inner workings of a first-person shooter, such as Halo, compared to that of a single-player experience. So it's a little different, but I do get what both of you are saying on that. I agree with you, Risk, on getting more helpers, more assistants and supportive teams. But then we fall into the other problem. This is what I was going to say. I thought Pete was going to go into. You get the Toys for Bobs and all that, and the B-Noxes and all that, and bring them in there. But then we were talking about this before, if you all remember, where we were talking about having these teams be freed of Call of Duty to make their own games.
Yeah.
But I know you did address it a bit, Risk, where you say, hey, you do this and then you can go to that. So I do get your point there. So maybe that could work. I think your idea makes some sense. The problem is I don't trust the management there to properly utilize those teams to get it to work. That's the problem.
Yeah, end of the day, it is management. 110%. I'll 110% agree with that. But this idea that it just wouldn't work on Halo, Halo's so special and so different. It's just not even a game that if you brought in other developers, that just wouldn't work because it's like you'd segment the game and that'd just ruin it and break it. That's not true. You've got your single player part. Someone you could have a team on that. You've got your battle royale. They've already segmenting the game. This is already happening. They've given it to certain affinity.
That's what I'm saying. It's already done that way anyway. So I don't understand what bringing a brand new team into it is how it's going to change anything. All you really need to do is change the leadership, which is why I suggested going back to ex-Bungie devs who know it and who know what work.
Well, I'm not saying don't change the leadership at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying they're struggling to get content out because they've got problems with the engine. And they're obviously trying to do content, trying to do this, trying to do that, while stitching the engine back together. And it's not working. We know that that's what's going on. We know that. We've heard that. So if that's what's going on, we don't know that. That's what we've been told. Okay, so if that's what's happening, you take everyone from 343 that knows that engine, and I'm sure that not all of them who know the engine are working on it. You take all those guys, you stick them on the engine. You bring in B-Nox and you say, give us 5 maps for this season. No worries, cool. Here's 5 maps for this season. Yeah, they got to learn the engine. There might be a bit of a slow pickup to begin with, but you're still going to end up getting 5 maps. It ain't going to take that long for them to work around. You've got experienced developers here for them to work around a new engine and get you 5 maps. The idea would 110% work. I know it would. Like, there's not a no work thing.
That was certain affinity's job, but then because they were so incredibly successful with making maps, they were given the extra responsibility of making a completely different battle royale mode. So they're already doing it. I understand your idea. I agree. I don't agree with it. I think that they're already doing the same thing with Call of Duty. I don't want these teams to be moved on from Call of Duty to Halo. I think they should be given autonomy to make a new game. I don't, and I think 343 just need to change, basically, like I said, their leadership, and get that engine working. I mean, the problem is because, like you said, they had all these just people that didn't work there full time, and now they're hiring engineers like crazy trying to stitch this engine back together. And once that's done, and it does seem that that's what they were talking about, once season 3 launches, the seasonal aspect of Halo's live service should be a lot better. I don't know if I can trust them because they've been wrong with everything else. I hope I can. But yeah, look, I don't think that I'm really going to be playing it apart from, our game night, which is always fun.
Yeah. Well, look, now that we've gone at it, Pete, and, scared Cage out of the conversation, I want to bring you back in, Cage. Cage is like, holy shit, these guys are screaming at each other.
Just get id Software to remake Halo 2, the Halo that I was in love with, and I'd be happy.
So,
we'll add that
Quake.
to the letter.
Don't take them away from Quake. Quake, Doom.
Well, either do Halo 2 or Quake 4 remake, and I would be ecstatic.
I would be very happy.
I feel
if
like
got
part
Quake.
3. I feel like part 3 should have got a remake. That's the one I'm upset about.
Oh my god,
My
we're
favorite
turning into
franchise.
PlayStation here. Give me a remake of Halo Infinite, and charge me Sony.
I
Cutie,
love what it's been doing with Doom, and I would love them to just revamp Quake in the same way. I can't. And I know there's a rumor that is happening, but it hasn't been confirmed yet. So yeah,
We'll see.
really looking forward to that.
hopefully it does. I really do hope it does. And I thought it was going to get announced at QuakeCon, but you know what got announced at QuakeCon? Nothing. Cutie, I'm going to go to you and just get, what do you think 343 should do at this point? Should they take Bonnie Ross outside, tie her to a pole, bring out the firing squad, and just no. I mean, obviously, she could just be moved somewhere else, and I don't think, but that's my opinion. What's your opinion, Cutie?
Look, it's clearly operational. I'm not sure if it's just Bonnie or if it's outside of her, but it's not working. That level of turnover, those very short contracts, is just, I don't know how they expect to produce a consistent game with that sort of turnover. That's ridiculous. So yeah, I feel like the structure there is wrong. But I don't know what the solution is. I think having different teams would potentially solve it, like you guys have suggested. But yeah, I had my hopes up a lot when we were playing the co-op. I thought that was, yes, this is going to be great. I wrote an article on it. I'm like, this is going to be fantastic. Forge is going to release. This is going to be, Halo's going to be on the upward. And, just to be sort of slammed again saying, nope, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We're not doing this. And dates don't mean anything to us. I think so. It's a kick in the face. It is. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the one solution is. I don't think anyone does. I don't even think they do. But someone higher up, if it's Phil or whoever, needs to say, hang on, we're not doing this anymore. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result is the definition of madness. Let's do about this.
Yeah, absolutely is. You bang on there as well. I don't think they do either. I think that's the problem. They don't know what the hell to do to fix this. I mean, I think Joe's making some headway, and hopefully does. But look, I want to move on from this topic before.
Just wanted to ask chat to chuck in the chat what they think should be done with Halo. Do you think that they should hire ex-Bungie devs? Do you agree with Risket that they should go the Toys for Bob and other?
All right, I'm going to do a poll. I'll do a poll, and I'm going to put Risket yes, Pete no. All right. So if you agree with Risket, hit yes. If you agree with Pete, hit no. So before me and Pete murder each other over Halo, I'm going to move on. But yeah, it's been a great show so far. The chat has been amazing. You guys are hilarious. Some of the comments in there I have giggled at. I don't know if you hear me randomly giggling. I am not a madman. I just find you guys funny. So please do, guys.
Laughing at us, not with us.
Please hit that like button. And if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. I'll say welcome to Colt as well. Absolute Royalty popped in to say g'day. We appreciate you popping in, man.
Hey, Riz.
What's up?
Why is your yes all capitalized and his no?
I don't know. It's
biased.
pure accident. My caps lock button broke or something. I don't know what's happening. But we'll move on to the next topic. And I'm kind of all over the place with topics. Normally I have them in line for the panel.
Doomy has to go, Risket, so we're going to say goodbye to her, unfortunately.
Oh, Doomy, you're going to jump out?
Yes, I put it in the chat.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't always check the damn thing.
No, I've just got a long drive ahead of me, so yeah, I'm going to jump out. But you know what? It's always a pleasure. Cassie, you're amazing. We love you.
Oh,
Please
thank
come on
you.
again.
Yeah, it was really nice talking to you.
Yeah,
Take care.
definitely. And chat, you're wild, and we love it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on. In the meantime,
Doomy,
follow.
drive safe.
Yeah, drive safe and awesome, Doomy, every week for coming on the show and being amazing. No, she didn't leave us out. She just hates us. No,
she left us out entirely. She thanked Cassie. She said the cat was crazy, but we love them. I didn't hear one thing about me, you, or Pete.
What about me?
Yeah, I'm very needy. I'm a very needy.
Yes, I need it. Where is it?
Where are the simps at? Where are Pete's simps and Umbra simps?
That's true. We're missing a Pete Sip this week. Look, Cutie, you've been amazing as you always are. And yes, do drive safe. And you can find all of Cutie's links down below in the bottom in the description. Bellottom. I just made up a new word. So if you want to find them, they're in the bellottom.
Catch me on Twitter. That's probably the easiest place to find me. I put all my stuff on there. But have a great weekend, guys, and I will see you later.
All right, Cutie.
Bye.
Right.
Fantastic. We'll move on to the next topic, which we'll be talking about Cutie while she's not here. No, it won't be. We'll move on to the next topic, which is Assassin's Creed Mirage has been leaked. And oh my God, did they leak some stuff? I'm going to whack this up on screen here. You'll have to excuse me because it's straight from our topics piece of paper, but whatever. You know, we like to run it a little bit rustic over here. So look, there's some stuff that pretty much came out about it, which sounds pretty exciting to me, and some things that are not so exciting to me. Obviously, games are subjective, so everyone should agree with what I say. So look, the final name should be announced as Assassin's Creed Mirage. It's releasing in spring of 2023. I'm going to skip over a few things, but you guys can feel free to read it. The game is a return to basics with a strong inspiration from the first Assassin's Creed. They're removing some of the RPG elements, so no dialogue choices, no gender choice, and the level system is going. Eagle Vision is back. Vision's a low-key. Look, I think that right there is the main thing that I would be focusing on, these RPG elements that have moved. And me and Pete had a conversation about this earlier in the week, just while we were playing some games. And I will be really quick with what I think that they need to do here, because everything sounds awesome. I like the sound of it. I like the sound of the location. I like that they're kind of going back to it. And maybe if they're changing the combat back to a little bit more of that reactive type Batman Arkham type combat that they were moving towards, I think it was Assassin's Creed Infinity. I like that. That's cool.
Origins.
Get it.
Origins, brother.
Origins. Everything's infinite these days. We're infinite, and Halo's infinite. I just call everything infinity. Anyway, so look, just removing this leveling system and some of the RPG elements. I was really liking the way that they went with Assassin's Creed, but a lot of people's complaints is that it's not Assassin's Creed. And I get that, especially when it comes to story-wise, they're moving off the Assassin's Creed whilst in Assassin's Creed. It's a bit weird, and I get it. I do get it. And my thoughts here are Ubisoft has kind of lost its way with IPs and what they're doing and what they're trying to do and what's going to be successful. Why can't they have both? Why can't they just go back to a more basic, true to form Assassin's Creed in mechanics and in story and in all that? Cool, do that, wicked. And then let's have a whole new other IP that kind of goes down that RPG road that they were going down with Assassin's Creed. And that way we're getting the best of both worlds. And those two IPs, I'm telling you, they'll sell. They will 110% sell. I could be wrong. But that's just my thoughts on it. Otherwise, I'm fairly excited to see what they do with it, but I'm cautious because it's Ubisoft and they haven't really messed up anything. That would be wrong to say, but they have headed in some very strange directions when they talk about what's coming next. I'm going to jump
Except
over
they messed up Valhalla.
Well, no, Valhalla was the best Assassin's Creed that's ever been made, but that's just my subjective opinion. Look, I'm going to go to you, Pete, and see what you want to fight me about next, and then we'll go to we'll go to you, Pete. So get your opinion on this, and then we'll move around to the panel. And
I'll be pretty quick. I am a little bit split about this because I love the combat and the gameplay in Origins and Odyssey. I think that they really just nailed it, and I'm a Souls fan, so basically it's Souls combat. Absolutely love it. Do I think they went a little bit too far with being able to pick your narrative choices? Yes, I do. I don't think that needs to be in it. I think that they lost their way with the Animus as well. I don't think they really stuck to lore where you no longer need to be a descendant. I think that can be done better. I don't think you need the upgrade trees. What I would like them to do is maybe switch between the two and keep Assassin's Creed fresh. I mean, I love the Ezio story. I love how it was done, but a couple of those follow missions just got a little bit boring. But maybe if they incorporate the combat of Origins and Odyssey and the assassination types of Unity and put them together without so many of the RPG elements, I think that they could have gold on their hands as long as they get the story right. I love the idea of going back to Arabia. I think that that's awesome. I think it's a beautiful part of the world. We haven't seen it enough, since, the original Altair story. Really looking forward to that. So, yeah, I love Assassin's Creed. So, yeah, but I am split. I really don't know in which direction to go.
Yeah.
I'm torn a little bit because like the last Assassin's Creed I was on was Unity, and I haven't gotten past Unity yet. I need to get past. I need to step up. Maybe this week I'll just start playing through them. But my favorite is still Black Flag. I just love that game, man, and that still had
You
a lot of the
haven't played
classic
Origins and
elements.
Odyssey yet, mate.
I haven't.
Tell you
Yeah,
that they are brilliant. They are
yeah.
so good.
I think. Which one is better to you, Odyssey or Origins? Which one is?
I love Odyssey. I've got 180 hours into it, but I mean,
Sheesh.
Depends on what you like.
Origins.
Do you prefer
Origins is
Egyptian lore or Greek mythology? Like,
I love them both.
both
Um,
absolutely
yeah.
fantastic. Umbra. Valhalla is definitely a step in the wrong direction. I think that would be the major consensus. I know Risk It feels a little bit differently, but
Yeah.
Origins and Odyssey are just almost flawless.
I got to get to them, man. I still got to get through the one with they were in London with the brother and sister too. So I have them all. That's the
Sneak it,
craziest thing.
yeah.
I own all of these. I just haven't gotten to them yet. So, but with this right here, though, I do like that they're stepping back into to the 800s. Actually, it's actually further back than the first actual original game. The first original, as we pointed out when me and you talked, Pete, was in the 1100s, right?
It's
So,
1100s. Yep.
yeah, so this is interesting how they're going to approach this, and apparently it seems to be from, and I only infer this just from imagery, and I think I saw something about Valhalla. Apparently, the main guy here was referenced in Valhalla. That's what it seems
He's
to
in it.
be.
Yeah, he's in it. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So I feel like I have to get through these now before I read any more into this because I don't like I'm big on not being spoiled. So I'm going to do that and see what's up. But I see that they're going back to the more classic elements. You know what I mean? He'll have the little throwing darts and such like that. He looks like Altair a lot in a way, minus little changes on the outfit. But it looks like it's going to be dope, man. And I'm actually really excited for it.
Combat interests me because it looks like in all the arts work that we've got is he's got a hidden blade on his left hand and just his sword in his right. So does that mean they're going to get rid of the dual combat aspect that they've introduced? It'll be interesting to see whether they go because in the games that they've, in Origins Odyssey, you can either have a sword and a shield or you can have two axes in Valhalla, and it really does change up the gameplay and the way it's played, but it does take away from that stealth aspect. So yeah, really
Yeah.
interested to see which way they go in terms of the combat.
Yeah, and I heard it became more of an RPG style type game than,
Yeah.
than
The leveling
Odyssey and
tree
Valhalla.
is crazy and it's
Yeah.
incredibly extensive, and I don't really think it needs to be there. And also the narrative choices, where it's like a Mass Effect style, where you can actually pick between different types of narrative choices. I don't think that needs to be there also.
Mm, okay. Yeah, J Rock says Valhalla was bland. He said he thinks it's times period. I don't know, man. I think it's how they present it. Like the Norse mythology is an excellent mythology. It's how they present what they do. I think that would have mattered. I
My
think
main
maybe that just
problem
didn't present it right.
My main problem with Valhalla is it just wasn't Assassin's Creed. It just didn't stick to the lore at all. It totally took away from the lore where you're attacking, you know, you are the attacking force. And I
Mm,
hated that about it. You're basically, raping and pillaging an area, which is totally against what Assassin's Creed has always been about. It's always been
mm.
about the fact that you are a small, and going up against the bigger, more powerful people, and that's what I really didn't like about it.
The
I
Templars.
like to be good by nature, and I felt that I wasn't that way in Valhalla.
Yeah, well, I guess it makes some sense though, because it's like how far can you go with the original, thought process with that, seeing how you're going to be a Viking, and that's what they do. That's exactly what they did was rape and pillage. But I do get
Yeah,
what you're saying though. Yeah, but I
yeah.
got to get to that, man. But this right here looks really interesting. I'm hyped for it. It looks like the fan base is hyped for it more than anything else. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Valhalla
step
is
back in the right
Assassin's
direction.
Creed in only but name. But Cassie, what do you think
Yeah.
about the new direction that they're going? Do you think that they're going in the right direction, going back to how originally it was, or do you like the new way that they've done it in Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla?
For me personally, the less Assassin's Creed is, the more I seem to like it personally. So, I mean, look, I get it. Like, I understand that the fans don't really care for the whole RPG elements of these new games. I think that they were close to something with these games. I really loved Odyssey. I thought it was. I didn't honestly. It took me a little while to decide to play it because of how much I tried so many Assassin's Creed games in the past and I just could not get into them. So I'm like, why would I bother? And I remember people saying like, no, this one is different. I'm like, okay. And I played through that game. I absolutely loved it. I love the RPG mechanics. I love the combat. I loved playing as the character. I loved the Greek mythology. It was so sick. But I will say, after beating that game, I had enough Assassin's Creed for like 4 years because of how bloated.
Yeah.
It is just excessive for no reason. If they would have toned down that grind, because I mean, in my opinion, the grind is there to try and get people to buy time savers. I think that's what it is, just straight up cut and dry. I refuse to indulge because it's like, it feels so blatant that I can't, I refuse to indulge. Like, that's how blatant it feels to me. And I recently started playing Origin. Yeah. Recently started playing Origin, and I'm really liking that game too. I love the whole Egyptian mythology behind it in general, and just the game still looks gorgeous. Like, I'm playing it on my 11700K on my 3060. The game looks beautiful, running at pretty much maxed out 60 FPS. Like,
time
awesome.
over the pyramids is something to behold, isn't it?
Yes.
It's just gorgeous. Yep.
Yes, and it's like you're so close to making such a great RPG. I love the choice options, especially in Odyssey, but your game is too bloated. And Ubisoft has lost their way. And for me, like, another thing I always hated about Assassin's Creed was the part of it where you're in the present. And as time goes on, I'm hating games more and more that take place in the present. I hate the present time. I want to go in the past or in the future, because now it's just like, I tried playing Watch Dogs 2, and I made the big mistake of streaming that game when it came out on GamePass, because after an hour and a half, I'm like, not for nothing, I feel like this game is a cringy piece of shit and I can't play it anymore. And it's like, sorry to anyone that likes the game, but it's just so cringe because it's trying to be so like now that I can't stand it. So
that's the problem that we have with a lot of games. I mean, I think Saints Row's suffering from that. But if you completely ignore the dialogue, like, I don't know who said it, I think it was last week, someone in the chat said, I'm playing it with the volume turned off, and it's great.
It was Astro.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the best way to play these games.
It's so hard for me because I love RPGs. I like being immersed in the world. And so, like, I can't do it. Like, some people could do that, and that's awesome for the gameplay aspect and just BSing around in the game. You want to get the energy, the action, but I want to feel immersed. And I don't want to be immersed in cringe present time.
It was Yadani
there.
Dani said it.
Yeah, I absolutely feel you guys, and Cassie, I kind of lean more towards how you see it, but I think that we're the exception to the rule, to be honest, because I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but it is too bloated. But I loved it, man. I completed the whole thing, knocked it out, I think, in 2 weeks, and loved my time with it. I probably will go back to the DLC, and I'd be a little bit sad to see the formula that they have go away. They are so close to that RPG, so I don't want to see that go away. But I'd also be really interested in going back to the older modernized version of the older formula of Assassin's Creed as well. So I don't see why we can't have both.
Cassie, if she's played Valhalla.
I know, because I'm not really the biggest fan of like Vikings and Norse mythology.
Do if you think the Odyssey is bloated, play Valhalla. It's even
what's
worse.
crazy, what makes it hard for me to take Ubisoft by their word is that they specifically said Valhalla was going to be like a shorter, less bloated experience than Odyssey, and it turned out that was kind of a lie.
I thought it was. Honestly, it was a lot smaller. The world was a lot smaller than Odyssey, and so you can get around it quicker, and so you can. There's probably still the same amount of content, but because the map's tighter, it feels like you're moving through it a lot quicker. To me, that's how I felt about it. A lot of people feel that it is still that bloated thing.
Most people don't agree with Riskit. Most people agree that Odyssey and Origins are much better than Valhalla. I'd just like to point that out, and also it doesn't feel very Assassin's Creedy to me at all. Valhalla, it's like they just made a Viking game and slapped on the Assassin's Creed name. And with Odyssey, at least the narrative brings you along and pulls you through, and areas are connected. With Valhalla, what they've done is each individual area has its own narrative, and once that's done, it's done. And that's what the game just doesn't tie together. It's like each area is a separate game, which also just pulls you away from what made Origins and Odyssey good.
Yeah, I would just like to point out most people don't agree with Riskit. I'm just going to end that poll now, and it seems that
I was just about to ask.
Unfortunately, that most people tend to agree with Riskit. You just got to roll with, these are facts, and you're just going to roll with facts, and it's what it is. Look, I absolutely agree with that 110%. Most people prefer Origins and Odyssey, and most people didn't really like Valhalla. I don't know why I did. Like that better. I just did. And I'm not really massively into Norse mythology either, to be honest. And I'm more into the Greek mythology. So that's weird, man. That was my preference, but it just was. I can't tell you why. I could tell you why, but we could sit here for another half an hour talking about it. But I want to move on to the next topic. And while I do, guys, just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're new here. Share it out. Let your friends know that we go live every week, Friday, 8 p.m. EST. And look, I'm going to skip over a couple of topics, guys, in the panel. And Cage, because look, it's been a very long. We've got a lot of topics, and I don't want to string the show out too much longer because we're going to end up doing a 4-hour show, and I want to respect everyone's time, you guys in the chat, our guests, and everyone but Pete's time. So so I'll move on to the next topic, which is pretty exciting. I'm super excited for. And I really wasn't excited for this at all. I was like, meh, don't care. I don't know if we talked on this a few shows back, and I was like, meh, don't care. But the way it's been done has definitely made me excited. Xbox Game Pass Family and Friends, they have announced it as basically fact. And when we did the topics for the show, we had it as a rumor. But they've recently released it in Europe, and it's a family and friends pass. And so the way my understanding of it is that if it's you and up to 5 friends, is that correct? I think that's right. Up to 5 friends if you guys live in the same country. Then you can share a Game Pass subscription at a really reasonable price. It was supposed to be priced at around $25 a month, but I believe it's now priced at $21. So look, I'm super excited. I do have friends, contrary to what that person who called me a loser on Twitter earlier today said. I do actually have friends. I just wanted to let them know if they're listening. I am a loser though, whatever. So it's gonna be really good to be able to bring in your mates. Everyone just pays their, or you pay your $21, and you've got a whole bunch of people sharing it. It's not going to be the way that game sharing was, or the way that you had with Homebox and your home Xbox, where if you were sharing Game Pass, inside your family, you could play, but if old mate wanted to use your subscription, you would have to stop playing that game and he could play it. And it was really convoluted. So it seems like they've streamlined the whole thing. I'm super excited for it. I think it's an absolutely great thing. I'm going to go to you, Cage, because I want to know what it's like from a PC, primarily PC player's point of view. You were primarily Sony, but you've moved on to PC, in my understanding. Yep. Is this something that you would use? Because we know the launcher on PCs, has been complained about quite a bit, and we know they're working on it. But is this something that piques your interest? Is it something that you would bring you into that launcher? If you could get a hold of this family and friends.
I'm on the launcher, believe it or not. I haven't run into any game-breaking issues with the launcher, but it is disappointing that a software company, first and foremost, can't seem to get the Microsoft Store under control on PC in general. But for me, I like to pay my $10 and just play my games on GamePass. It's helped me, especially with a situation recently that I won't discuss, but it's helped me save some money and still be excited for new releases. So that's really cool. And I think this is awesome just in general, having more options when it comes to being able to play games and stuff like that. It seems to be a decent price. So, you could have up to 5 people on there. That's pretty cool, man. I think that's really cool. I remember on 360, the rules were so messed up. Me and my brother would both have to get Xbox Live for both of our accounts. And it was pricey, man. It was no joke back then. So Xbox has definitely come a long way in that regard with trying to be more consumer friendly in that regard. And I think this is really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, it absolutely is for me. It's going to save me Microsoft points, not money, because I don't pay for my Game Pass subscription. I do my Microsoft rewards every week, and I get on that hard to make sure I don't have to pay for Game Pass, which is another really cool consumer friendly thing. And look, I think the main thing is that they didn't need to do this. This will probably bring some people in, but for what it will bring in, I think it's more for the players that they have in the ecosystem already that have been asking for it. And look, they could have just gone on like they were and not be considered anti-consumer. So this was not necessary for them to do. And I guess it's another feather in the cap for Microsoft to say, hey, they really are here for the players, hating to use that term, but it seems that way that paradigm has shifted. Umbra, is this something that you're going to be getting down with over there in the US? Are you going to be getting your ES buddies onto family and friends and, saving yourself some Microsoft points or cash?
Yeah, it's something I think I might get into, man. I already game share with my nephew, so he has all access to my stuff too. So I think it would only make sense if I did so and shared it with more of the family. I think it's a dope deal. Here it'll be $25, I believe. So it's $10 more. Yeah, so $15 a month.
It's been announced, Umbra. Live Supreme was asking if it's actually, but the price has been announced. I don't
hasn't
think...
here. Yeah, not here.
Think so.
It only revealed for, I believe, in Ireland. But it hasn't been revealed yet for the UK here or in Europe yet, really. Excuse me. So, yeah, but once it does, it'll be $10 more here. They'll also convert your Game Pass Ultimate, much like you would if you signed up and you convert from Xbox Gold or whatever to Game Pass. It'll convert that way. So 30 days of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is now 18 days of family and friends and family once you convert. So that's interesting too. But yeah, I'm interested in it, Risk. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's going to bring in many more people into the the subscription base for them, and it'll probably fudge the numbers a bit because of that. I think so. It'll probably start sounding like double or something like that, or something around that nature, maybe half, because I wonder how that'll all play, statistic wise, if they'll be like, oh, we've gained all these new followers now, Game Pass has now grown to such and such. I'm wondering how that'll play out. So I and it is consumer friendly, but it's also a W for them just with the money they'll bring in with this, and especially once the Activision the ABK situation goes through, I think it's just going to jump crazy.
Yeah, look, and I'm just scrolling through the family Game Pass deal now that they've released the details on Xbox. So if you want to go to the Xbox Wire, and check it out. But here's the details online. 5 accounts to share with all benefits of Ultimate. Hundreds of high quality games, all the fluff, and you get all the perks. And so everyone gets access to each individual perk, and none of this is, that's the thing I was kind of, interested to see. Like, none of this is, kind of a bit of a sneaky taking something away from you whilst we're giving you something with the other hand. This is all gravy all the way, baby. So, Pete, what do you think of Xbox Game Pass family and friends? And is it something that you're going to be jumping onto with the boys?
I just want to say congratulations to Microsoft and Xbox for putting this initiative through. It's such a great consumer-friendly initiative, and they really need to be patted on the back for something like this. It's obviously going to cost them money, but it's such a consumer-friendly move. I actually thought it would have been 4 people. To hear that it's 5, it's just such a fantastic saving. And well done to them, because it really has been a problem within family and households where, only 2 people have access to Game Pass, and, unless you have to pay for it again. And, in this economy, every little bit of money you can save really does help. And so kudos to Microsoft for this. The more that we can, shine a light on these kind of initiatives, the better it is for our whole industry. So yeah, well done to them. I probably won't be using it. I game share with somebody. I'll probably continue to do that. So yeah, there's not 5 people that I'll be gaming with. So I personally won't use it, but for people that have kids and things like that, yeah, it's just a fantastic thing.
Now that you've said that, that person that was giving me grief on Twitter is just headed straight to your account. Like, said, you don't have 5 friends? Anyway, yeah, Pete does have 5 friends. I can rattle off about 50. But anyway, look.
Wow.
I want to move on to the next topic. Guys, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it out. And this is going to be the last topic, and then we're going to move off and we'll do our outros and stuff, because we're pushing, I think, 3 hours, getting close to. But look, this one I wanted to highlight because I don't know if many people have read the actual post. And again, I will bring it up on screen just now. But the Tokyo Game Show is coming up, and Xbox will have a presence there. And they said a lot. There's a massive post. I'm not going to read the entire thing verbatim, but the paragraph that interested me was, we invite fans to tune into the Tokyo Game Show 2022 Xbox stream, where you can expect to see updates on existing titles from Xbox Game Studios and titles launching from developer partners that we hope will delight players here in Japan and across Asia and around the world. And kind of what I wanted to ask the panel is, what do you think we'll see? What do you hope to see? And what do you think we'll see in the way of new titles? Do you think they're going to be dropping a whole bunch of new stuff? Myself personally, I would like to see more of Life of P. I'm loving that game. I'm loving what they're showing, and that's from a Korean developer. So it sort of fits. And I'd like to see them bring in Black Wukong, to be honest, into that show. Again, I know it's not Japanese, it's just Chinese developer, but they did say from across Asia. So, I mean, if they brought that into the ecosystem and we got Black Wukong on Game Pass day one, I would be super excited. So, guys, in the chat, if you have any thoughts about what you would like to see from the Tokyo Game Show, look, drop it in the chat and let us know. And I'll go to Cage. What is it that you would like to see from the Tokyo Game Show coming up? Do you think it will be impressive? Because remember, no one thought Gamescom was going to be any good, and we got a bit of a surprise there. So what are your thoughts?
For me, I would love to see just more RPGs in general. Games from Japanese developers that aren't trying to be Western influenced. Not trying to throw shade, but there are some games out there that just stop trying to appeal to the West. We want your games specifically because they have your Eastern influence. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't like. My thing is with these events, I really try not to wish for anything to show up there. Like, I just go, like, I'm just gonna watch it and judge it for what it is, because everyone always gets their hopes up all the time with all these events, especially I think Nintendo Directs are like notorious for this. So I mean, whatever that they show there, I'm hoping that one, they'll come to PC, and two, that they're just interesting and they're going to push the industry forward. Because for me personally, I just feel like gameplay has been extremely stagnant since like 360/PS3 generation. And so I don't feel like the West does a very good job at trying to push forward from a gameplay perspective. It seems to be more just make prettier looking games. And for me, I that doesn't really appeal to me personally. I just want to see more unique experiences overall that's trying to change, bring gaming to the next level. So if I see things like that, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind the westernized, and JRPGs aren't my sort of thing. But I do like the diversity, and sometimes you find a gem that suits and to your graphical. Bit of shade thrown at graphics there. Yeah, I agree. Gameplay is king. Absolutely. I know that JediKnightPete says that quite often, but then doesn't really play games. Yep. So it's a weird thing to say.
Oh, no.
No, he does. He does. Pete, I'll go to you. What do you hope to say?
I disagree with what Cassie just said then. I like when Eastern developers make Western-focused games. Elden Ring's a perfect example for me. Dark Souls and Elden Ring, that was Game of the Year. If it doesn't win Game of the Year, there's something wrong with the industry. That game is perfect. It's perfect. Dark Arisen as well. I absolutely love that game. Ninja Gaiden, absolutely love that game. So they're the type of games that I look forward to. Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen. So made by Eastern companies, but really focused on that Western market. What do I want to see? I do agree with what Cassie just said. If you don't go in with expectations, you're much more likely to enjoy the show. And that's sort of what I did with Gamescom. I didn't really think that I was going to enjoy the show, and I went in with such low expectations that I loved it. I gave that show a 9 out of 10, and I just absolutely loved everything about it. What do I want to see? The Persona series, maybe Kojima. I would love to see or hear anything more about Dragon's Dogma, because I love the first one so much.
When you say Kojima, do you mean Kojima's podcast or an actual game?
Oh, no.
Well, an actual game.
Sorry.
Dragon's Dogma 2, Elden Ring DLC, and I didn't actually know that Wukong and Wulong were different games. But I want to see Wulong, Team Ninja. I would love to see them come back into the Xbox fold. What was one of the games that I bought on my PlayStation 4, Neo and Neo 2. I thought that was a massive loss to Xbox, not getting those franchises. After Ninja Gaiden 3, I believe, Team Ninja moved away from Xbox and moved over to PlayStation. So really looking forward to that game. And everything else we've pretty much already seen at Gamescom. So, yeah, they're the ones that I'd really be focusing on.
Awesome. Look, we'll move over to Umbra, but just before we do, we've had a question in the chat, so I'm going to slip it in whilst we've got the majority of you guys here before we go to outros and after Umbra's given his what he would like to see at the Tokyo Game Show. Shooter 2853, a great friend of the show, an absolute champion. He has got a copy of the Vault edition of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and we are starting up a new segment, and we need the clips to get the segment up and running. And basically, what we need you guys to do is send in your clips. Could be funny, could be like a crazy shot you've made, could be anything that you've clipped, something you think is cool. Please go to the Xbox Infinite Twitter handle and DM us your clips, and we'll play it on the show, the one that we think is the best. And whoever gets the wins the first week that we do it Shooter will give away a copy of Modern Warfare 2 Vault Edition. So, guys, make sure you get them all in ASAP because we're hoping to go live with that next week. And he has the code sitting there waiting. So, yeah, pretty exciting. And Shooter, you're an absolute champion. Really appreciate you, mate. You didn't have to do that, and he did. So, shout out to you. You're an absolute legend. And look, Umbra, what are you hoping to see from the Tokyo Game Show? What do you think we'll see? And what are your thoughts on the whole affair?
Yeah, well, my thoughts on the whole affair is I'm interested in it because Microsoft is, they're returning with their digital event for it, and they announced that. So to announce it means to me that they're going to probably show off a lot of good third-party stuff. It won't be any first-party new things for first-party. They already told us, so you don't have to worry about that. Anybody thinking about that? But third-party, Microsoft, if you all remember, talked about the partnership with Asian developers in general, with like 200 plus developers when they had Sarah Bunn come out talking about it. So I'm excited to see what they'll do because of that, if anything. I just got a tweet where Star Ocean, the Divine Force, will have a special live stream at the Tokyo Game Show. So I'm interested in that now because it looks dope. I'm going to share this to our chat so you all can see what I'm talking about. Risk and Pete.
Awesome.
I do agree with Pete on the part of having some westernized games from Eastern developers, but I do agree with Cassie too. Overall, I appreciate them having their own cultural influence when it comes to their games, but it works out either way as long as it's a great game. Elden Ring is one of those such exceptions where it turned out really, really damn great. And I agree too that it should win Game of the Year. But then again, I still have to wait until I play God of War to say that. But just to say what I would expect, Wolong, absolutely. And Pete, yeah, I can see why you would probably be confused when you hear that name because it does sound the same, Wukong and Wulong. But yeah, Wukong rather is the one about the journey to the west.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Monkey Magic.
Oh, I forgot to mention one. Where Winds Meet. I want to see more of that. That game looked
Ooh,
beautiful.
yes.
That'd be nice.
That game
I wonder if
looks sick.
it did. I wonder if it's farther up and developing enough for them to show anything, Pete. That's what I'm wondering on that. It didn't seem like it were, but you never know. Maybe they kind of just showcased it there, and we'll show more at Tokyo Game Show. Maybe you're right about that. So yeah, I think some of the developers that are slept on. We often look at Japanese developers, but a lot of people ignore like the Korean developers. I've noticed Chinese developers are getting up there, but I think the Korean developers are top notch. Some of them, because I look at a game like a Lost Ark, for instance. I was hyped for Lost Ark for years before it finally, Amazon, I think, acquired and published their game rather on Steam and such. And I have that. I just have to get into it. But that game it looks phenomenal, and I've heard nothing but good things about it outside of its monetization situation, at least. But yeah,
waiting on Project Eve as well. That's a Korean devs.
Good one. Absolutely, that's another one. So as far as what I would expect, I would say we'll probably get more shown as far as some of the games announced. Wolong, like you pointed out, Pete and Brisk, and Wukong, they'll probably show more of that. And what I would hope to see, I don't know. I just want something. I want some surprises, and that's what we got with Gamescom. Yeah, I just want some surprises. I want them to wow me a little bit and show me something I absolutely did not expect to see. I just hope overall it's just a great show because I don't want it to be a waste. Gamescom, like you said, Pete, I went into that too, like, it's not going to be anything. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's pretty good. Now, my score wasn't as high as yours, but it still was worthwhile, still was really good and entertaining. So overall, I'm hoping that they'll just show us something worthwhile. And it looks like so far we're getting there already with this Star Ocean being announced. I want to see how that comes out.
Absolutely,
One franchise.
No, you're right. Sorry, Cage, you go.
Okay. One franchise, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see specifically Dragon Quest 12. I'm not expecting it. I refuse because I'm so attached. But if they showed Dragon Quest 12, it would be an instant win. Or even Dragon Quest 3 Remake, because that was literally the first RPG I ever played, and I was too dumb as a 5-year-old to play that game. But it, obviously is sentimental to me. Yeah. I would love to see Dragon Quest 3.
Yeah, that'd be nice. You know what? Steph just mentioned one I forgot about. Dokev, the Dokev.
Dokev, yeah.
Yeah, or Dokev, how the hell you say it.
Yeah.
That game actually looked really dope. We thought when we all saw it was probably Unreal Engine 5, but it was their own engine. Yeah, I would like to see that actually. That's a good point, Steph. Yeah.
It does look amazing. I'll give you that, but I'm in your camp, Umbra. There's aside from Black Myth Wukong and Wolong. I also like the look of that. There's a couple others as well, but I really just want to see some surprises, something cool, something big. And obviously more on the Life of P. I'm really interested in that game. I can't wait for that game to come. That's like an awesome. I mean, how good is that premise? Like, that's nailing a premise. It's like the complete opposite to Saints Row. Like, Saints Row came out with the dumbest premise I've ever heard for a game. And these guys have come out with like one of the best premises I've ever heard for a game, like a dark Pinocchio, universe.
I was so interesting to use Pinocchio in that way. Just brilliant.
And just where that's so creative. That's what I want to see from new IPs. I don't want to see a Ubisoft rehashed, your basic story that's just the same over. And I think a lot of these big companies are missing that. And this is what we were saying about Unreal Engine 5, and what it's going to do for the industry. It's going to let a lot of these indie developers and smaller studios bring in something that's can graphically match some of these AAA titles, and hopefully gameplay mechanic will match as well, whilst giving us new, interesting IPs to look at. And I think a lot of these acquisitions will open up space to do that.
Another one I just thought about, Risk. Street Fighter 6. They'll probably show more of that. I forgot all about Street Fighter.
I'm not a big fighting fan game.
I wasn't until I played Injustice 2, and then that really got me into fighting games. Yeah, I think they're all right. They're really cool. I wouldn't mind getting a Killer Instinct franchise.
I would love that.
Yeah.
Do you know what we could see? What we could see, and I hate to bring this up because I really don't want them to do it, but you know what? It's a possibility to see. If we're talking about third-party developers, they could announce Scalebound.
Oh yeah,
Platinum, Scalebound, awesome.
But that would be first party, so we know that's not happening. So yeah, that's out of the question.
That's third party. That is third party.
Microsoft owns that.
Yeah, they own the IP, but they said from their first party developers. That doesn't mean that that they own the IP. They don't own the studio. So that still fits into what they said there. Launching from developer partners.
That'd be too much of a trick of the tongue for them to do all of that, because they just said don't expect anything from first party as far as new games announcements. So that still would be first party IP. I don't think they'll.
Yeah, they said from developer partners, so that kind of fits bang on in. Like, I mean, Platinum was a developer partner on Scalebound.
Let that game die.
Yeah, I agree.
Just let it die.
It's not happening, Risk, but yeah, that'll be funny though. It'll be interesting if it happened.
Absolutely agreed. I wanted to do. I do not want Microsoft working with Platinum. I think that they should do the business what do you call it, equivalent of walking up to Platinum with a leather glove and slapping them in the face. Because honestly, Platinum Games. I'm not a big fan of the guy who runs that studio. He's not a cool dude. I don't like him, and I don't like what they did to Xbox. But it could happen, and if it did happen, remember that you heard it here first, 8 p.m. EST Fridays on Xbox.
He brought up a good thing. He said, "I hope Sonic Frontiers gets announced at Game Pass." I do too. Sega and Xbox have a great relationship, and although Sonic doesn't show very well, I think it would be a good opportunity for it to go into Game Pass.
I agree.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I wonder how Sonic Frontiers will do actually sales-wise. I think having it to Game Pass will actually be beneficial for it personally. And also, you all saw that thing when Bloomberg interviewed Phil, right? And when they said, also Sonic, home of Sonic the Hedgehog at Xbox. It may have been some type of, accidental slip of the tongue, or it could have been something they weren't supposed to talk about and accidentally announced. So I wonder if there's some type of situation where Microsoft is working
media
on
not knowing what they were talking about. That's what I think.
You know what's interesting though, Pete, is I agree, but they actually did like a cut, an edit where they actually showed like the gameplay and we're talking about showing like Sonic in such also being a part of it. So I wonder if that was just a mistake on that part because it was edited after the part after the fact to add that.
I think it's very unlikely that the media would ever make a mistake. Look, we're going to wrap up the show, guys. It's been an absolutely amazing show. We literally have another 4 or 5 topics sitting there that we're just going to leave because it's been an absolutely fire show already. And I think that what we covered was absolutely amazing. We're tipping the 3-hour mark. I just want to go to the chat, guys. You guys have been absolutely amazing. Again, don't forget that Shooter has a copy of Modern Warfare. And if you want to win that, you need to go to the Xbox Infinite handle on Twitter. Subscribe to us while you're there, follow, but you don't necessarily have to. But what you do need to do is send us your clips into that DM, and we'll show the best clip on the show next week, and whoever's clip that is will win a global copy of Modern Warfare 2. So chat, you guys have been amazing again. I loved all your takes. We've had a lot of crazy people come through. We had Colt, we've had J-Rock, had a lot of names come through, so that was awesome to see. And all you guys that have been with us from the very Fonz came back as well, even after we blocked him last week. And all you guys that have been with us since day one, man. You guys from day one have been absolutely amazing, just supporting us the whole way through, and we appreciate you, and we always will. And this is what powers our show and what keeps us going every week. And I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We really do appreciate every single one of you, as we do with our guests. Cult Classic Cage, your takes are on point, and I can't say I agree with everything that you have said, but what I can say is you know how to articulate your points, and you have a lot of knowledge to back the points and why you think what you think, and I always appreciate that, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, unless it's Pete, sorry, and I absolutely appreciate having you on the show. Thank you for coming through and giving us your takes. Please let everyone know where they can find you and what you'll be up to in the coming weeks and months, and if you do want to find her, she is linked in the description, both Twitch and YouTube, so guys, make sure you head over there and subscribe. She's an absolute champion, and some of her videos are just so on point. It's brings a tear to the eye. So yeah, let everyone know where they can find you and what you're up to.
Seriously though, Risk It, I really appreciate this. Like, it's really cool just meeting new people, and you definitely have introduced me to more new people. It's really cool overall, and the chat, really awesome, guys. Like, definitely enjoyed talking with y'all. If you do want to find me,
out that you saved the show today, so
thank you. But this show, you guys are really awesome. Honestly, you definitely be able to hold it down on your own. Overall, really good to make the connection. But if you guys would like to talk to me, you could hit me up on Twitter, Cult Classic Cage. Same with YouTube as well as Twitch. I play video games. I stream multiple times a week on Twitch. And I make videos, not just talking about gaming, but I also like to talk about all sorts of entertainment that I'm interested in, or just generally what I'm into. Like, my YouTube channel is just my personally me and how I perceive and enjoy entertainment overall. I also talk a lot about the Halloween franchise because I'm a diehard fan, even at the worst points in that film's franchise history. So if you're into any of that stuff. Yes, I can totally agree with that. I can't wait to go to the movies to watch Halloween Ends to give a detailed analysis on why this franchise needs to end.
Passy, I saw the last movie in the theaters. It was one of the only movies I ever got up and walked out of.
Yeah, I can't say I blame you, unfortunately. It's like, I want new movies, but can we please move away from Laurie Strode? Like, Jamie Lee Curtis, amazing actress, but it's time for new ideas.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it wasn't even a matter of it being on her. It was just a shitty movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I sat there watching him kill. I'm like, really? Like, it was so. I don't even want to talk about that movie.
It just doesn't feel. What I love and makes me so passionate about Halloween is even some of the bad films are just so good at being like comfort food film. And Kills is not that even remotely.
Yeah, look, I've never been a massive fan, but it's meant to be a B slasher movie, like, you know, it's kind of meant to be bad. So I imagine if it is that, and then they kind of nailed it. But again, Cult Classic Cage, you're an absolute champion. Thank you for having us, being on the show, having us on your show. It's weird. That was weird. Anyway,
Thank you for having me.
no worries. Jedi Knight Peter. Obviously, I hate your takes. They're terrible. You never get anything right. I don't know why I have you out. No, you're absolutely awesome. Come on the show every week and give us your takes, man. They're usually on point, and we appreciate every minute you spend with us. So please let people know what you'll be up to this week, what you'll be playing, and what you're looking forward to.
We're playing Immortals Phoenix Rising, and I will miss Halo tomorrow because I'm going over to have Father's Day with my dad, which is going to be awesome. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Thank you all. Thank you, Cassie, for coming by. Umbra, Risk It, you guys are awesome. I'm not going to thank the chat today because you guys chose Risk It over me. So you guys are all wrong. No, thank you, chat. You guys are awesome. Love, even when we disagree. Yeah, great show.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I love it when someone's got a different opinion to me and we can go back and forth about it. That's what makes for great conversations and great understandings. You know, sometimes you're not always going to agree, but hearing someone else's opinion can make you think, and that's a good thing. It's never a bad thing. Umbra, another amazing show. Thank you, mate, for coming through every week and gracing us with your presence, giving us your takes. Really appreciate you as well. Please let the people know where they can find you and what you'll be up to, what you'll be playing for next week.
Yeah, man, that was a good, entertaining talk right here. It was long too, right? Like it went on for a minute. It didn't really feel like it though. I think that's the part to me that always strikes Will when we talk about something and so much time goes by. But it just means it was really good conversation. So thank you, Cassie, for joining us. Cassie Cage.
Thank you.
That's your introduction for your Mortal Kombat. Okay. Anyway,
Cassie Cage.
Yeah, man. Cassie Cage wins. But yeah, flawless victory. Fatality. But yeah, no, thank you for joining us. Honestly, you had some great takes, as you saw in the chat. People were all simping over you. I saw y'all in the chat over there.
Yeah, simps, mate.
Just simping it up left and right.
Female voice, and they just said shit, mate.
Yeah. It was my boy Sycamore came here. I came here only for Cassie. I'm like, so wait a minute. I had asked you to come to this damn podcast about 8 times already. You didn't come for me. Ain't this about a beep? Yeah, no, but no, seriously, y'all. Thank you all in the chat too for coming through and supporting us as you do as well. And of course, Risk, you and Pete, and of course Cutie, Toxic Cutie, when she hears this. Yeah, and even though she didn't shout us out, you guys rock, as you know, and you all know you can find me Xbox Infinite, of course, on Fridays at 8 Eastern, and on Tuesdays you can find me on Boom's podcast Xbox Factor at 12 Eastern, and if you want to find me on Twitter, as Stimber just did, Umbra Infinite or Infinite Umbra, you'll find me either way, and on Xbox, of course, Super Space Havoc, HAVOC. Join me if you're like-minded and good-natured people. You know, let's get on here and game sometime. We have a Halo community night probably tomorrow with J-Rock hosting, so you all will know. We talked all that shit about it, but we're still going to play that game. It is what it is.
Absolutely.
We can't help it.
Yeah, it brings you in. I'll usually miss it because I've got family stuff to do. But shout out to C-Steph. Jedi smells like Risk It poo. That's probably true.
No, why don't you read what Hargeet wrote about that, huh?
I don't really see it in the chat.
I see it. How would you know that? I guess I don't want to know.
I'm just looking for it. I can't see it. Yeah, I can't see it anyway. I think he's deleted it. Crazy. Anyway, look, guys in the chat, again, you guys are amazing. One hell of a laugh.
Did you just delete his comment?
I don't know what he's talking about. What are you talking about?
His comment is gone now.
Delete someone's comment? That's
you know what?
I'm above that.
Message deleted by Risk It for the biscuit.
It doesn't say that.
Wow.
Weird. Really weird that happened. I must have slipped of the button or something. Anyway, guys, we had an absolutely
very specific
fire show. We had a great time, as we always do. Again, thank you to the guests, Cassie Cage, your champion, you guys in the chat, absolute legends. And this week I will be playing The Last of Us Part 1 after I have beat the leather off Umbra's gloves. And we'll see you all next week, 8 p.m. Friday EST for Xbox Infinite. Catch ya.
Yeah.
Catch ya.